Hello. Oh, I did the thing.
Ooh.
I did the thing. I did the thing before I did the thing. I did the thing before I did the thing.
We are advertising a personal world clock, apparently.
Yes.
Wow.
Listen, it's fine. Hi guys, welcome to Breaking Character. Things are looking a little bit different around here.
Absolutely.
So Emerald, it is a little bit more complicated than that, but we're gonna get into that here in just a second. As you can see, we are missing a little bit, and we have decided to go our separate ways with Gears. We're not going to be getting into it at all, just because it is a delicate matter for all parties involved. And with that said, as they were the DM of this campaign, obviously Breaking Character is going to have to end. But we didn't feel like leaving you guys in a lurch with the character story-wise, so we kind of took it within ourselves to kind of map our path with where our characters might have ended up had certain story points been hit, certain things happened along the road. And maybe even a couple of like inferences we made with where the story was going anyway. So with that, I would like to welcome in everyone else to kind of like join in and start speaking.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello.
I almost stepped in a couple of times there.
You did really well. I wasn't gonna cut you off at any point.
Yeah, but you were rocking it, so.
applause for blood.
Also, while we're like doing this, I do want to make clear we're ending breaking character. We're not ending anything else, and we will have something new here.
Yes.
Like we're not gonna disappear.
No.
No.
Yes.
Thursday is still on, and we'll have a new show potentially next Wednesday.
We're still figuring out certain details.
More
Yeah,
than likely.
we're gonna get together and just make fun of Brett for 3 hours every week.
It's gonna be great.
That's why
I'm
all
very
of you.
excited.
So more than
Wife,
likely.
you participate in the roasting. I don't know why you're trying to defend me.
But I still gotta try. I gotta attempt.
But yeah, we've got enough games and enough ideas that we could basically make this a variety show and keep going. But until we sort of settle on something, and we will talk more about this, I think, at a little bit later in the stream, but until we decide on something, we are actually going to do a revolving DM sort of structure with a couple of different games and a couple of different DM voices being featured that wouldn't normally be in that role. I believe at the moment we are hoping for everybody, but we're not going to force anybody to DM if they're uncomfortable. So we'd love for everyone to, but I can't speak to everyone. I'm one of the crew. I know there's several of us that have already committed to because we're very comfortable DMing already.
Not me.
Definitely not Brett.
Well, I know
I am the strongest
Brett
one
said
here.
that they wanted to run like 6 or 7 different shows for us, right?
Yeah. I got the
could.
Yeah.
I could. It wouldn't be very good, but I could.
I said Bright.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bright. I think he said Brett.
Not everything's about you, Brett.
God.
Really?
I already made my Brett joke. I've pick on everybody in rounds.
Um,
Not true.
That,
but,
well, you know.
Every other
So-
person is Brett. Sorry.
So do we want to move on to the sort of epilogue type thing? Because I'm really excited for the stuff after the epilogue where we tell people the next things that we're doing. I'm also very excited for the epilogue, where we get to have some resolution for our characters, and some of us may have written multi-page wish lists of what sort of thing they want for their character. So
Don't know who would have done that.
I would never.
there is a writer among us. It could
That's
have been
true.
them.
That's very true.
Yeah, how much did he
Is the writer in the room with us?
how much did he write again?
Definitely more than 2 sentences. Anyway, so do we want to hit on, for those that may not remember where we left off in the main storyline? Do we remember?
I do.
Well, I mean, yeah, just, like let's overall recap the thing.
The entire, yeah, that feels more comfortable. Is like going from, obviously not in depth, Tony. Don't
Yeah, just
realize
like-
me.
Just like hitting the points, so that way there's some continuity as to where these endings are going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will. Unless you'd like to start us off, Rev. I wouldn't mind getting us just started in the beginning. So the campaign sort of came about in the beginning with, like, one of our first scenes was Boston picking up Nash from prison on his like first minutes back in the real world. To look behind that, we didn't say much about it at the time, but Nash had been in prison for basically maiming another fighter in the ring, because he'd been ransomwared effectively, and his entire life was leveraged against him throwing a fight, and he lost control of his anger.
He'd been there for almost 6 years, right, or something like that.
3 years. He also had been doing some illegal gambling behind the scenes, and there was a whole downfall between his family, between his ex-love, a drow named Jade. And this was his restart. He'd been looking desperately for something and found Boston, and they get on their first bounty, which is to find and hunt and turn in Rick. We're not gonna mince words with that. So, that to me is the first big bullet point.
Yeah. Truth be told, there was a major part of, I think, Boston and myself who would have just turned in Rick because it's just a robot. It's a heartless machine, but then he met Baldric. And for someone who, lives in the country that they did, there are Warforged all the time that are seen to be more, robot-esque or more automaton, very puppet-esque. And Baldric's probably the first one that, probably Boston's mind, maybe there were some, but not that I'm aware of, that was the most human that he'd ever met, or the most realer than most people. And in that moment, he's like, with the money that we would get from turning in Baldric, Nash would never have to work again. Genuinely speaking, he would never have to work again. And then he had the conversation, and I think Nash was for it because he kind of had these conversations. What was actually Nash's response to Boston saying we're not turning him in? Because, they had conversations, and he seemed real. He didn't...
Yeah, in the beginning, Nash was following Boston's lead 100%. Boston was like, I don't think we're turning him in. Nash was like, dope, let's go. There wasn't a lot of, he didn't have a good bearing on the world that he came back into. So he did not trust his own decision-making skills in that moment. It did not for a long time in the campaign.
I will also say, how Nash and Boston met, it was when Boston was in prison for possession of illicit substances. In fact, it was what was it called? I have my notes right here. For Xanazine. ZZ is that black liquid drug that black pill that we caught into the last few episodes.
It was I think it was a white or clear liquid.
White tablet.
Yeah.
It's a painkiller. And he was caught in the same room as the substance was in as he was trying to take down a drug bust being a cowboy. And there's some of it in his pocket as he was trying to leave. Because he might be a recovering addict from pain medication. Maybe. And he was in there for 18 months, and that's where he met Nash.
Yeah, and the combo of Nash being hated for how he went down in the ring and some of the illegal gambling stuff that he did, and also Boston being hated because he was an ex-bounty hunter, the two would regularly to defend each other, and that's how they sort of became best friends.
Yeah, bestest buddies.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we met up with Rick, who was newly on the run, I think, right? You were
that day.
Yeah. So it had been like a day or two. It was not long. So Rick had essentially been the parental figure in his household for a couple of generations, as both butler and nanny to the children. And the most recent head of the family didn't see any use for Rick anymore. He was the one that had initially enrolled Rick into the fighting pits as well. But the Astor family's fortune was being burned up because that guy was a bit of a fool. And so he was going to have Rick scrapped. The youngest daughter, who was still very fond of Rick, though, helped him escape, and is also why Rick had so much money. She gave him the ring that Rick had at the very beginning. That was a big thing. And all that money, and was just like, here, disappear. Which I think that ring, it ended up just being like a ring of telekinesis, wasn't it?
It was the pushing back ram. I thought it was the ram ring. It would push people back in combat.
Whatever it was.
We lost it thanks to the cult.
We gave it to the church, I thought.
Right, and that night the church got blown up and they stole the ring.
We didn't lose it.
The church
lost it.
It's not our responsibility.
Well, there was a definite lossaging happening.
I paid my taxes. It's not my fault the government got robbed.
So in order to keep Rick from being pursued, the group headed to the Temple of the Thander, a place for new beginnings. That's sort of where they laid down for the first night. The temple, of course, got exploded, and the people that we were with got killed. But the three of us survived, and we met Fen.
And,
Yeah.
and Bermuda.
And Ramita.
Mm-hmm. I thought Fen was going to introduce themselves and
Fen?
tell us how they got there.
I was working on it, motherfucker.
Fen, how'd you get there?
So Fen, being one fresh out of their academic studies, because like legitimately, Fen was 23. Fen was a tiny little baby as far as like all of this was concerned. First assignment, the whole 9, going out, literally picked Ithros and Vorak because of Ithros being so intricately entangled with the tech side of things, and Vorak more with the celestial magic, which is not very common in Auroran. Also just being a certain sex of it being a lot more magical. So that seemed to them a good place to get started on a goal of theirs, which was to find, contact, and a little bit of a spoiler here, potentially free their friend who was contacting them through their dreams. Because as Kalshatar, they had a connection with something called a quarry, which are these ethereal beings that travel through dreams and the ether and such like that. And so that was the thing that kept sending Fen their dreams. And that was the thing that Fen felt they needed to reach out to. So going to Vorak seemed like a potential great... Nobody likes you when you're 23. Shh.
Kalstar's a fun race to play, though.
It's
Yeah.
so fun. I love it. I really wish I would have been able to play more into the psychic part of it.
Aspects. Mhm.
But there was just so much going on through the entire campaign. But no. So yeah, that is what brought Fen honestly out of Auroran in the first place, was not so much to actually do their job was a means to an end, but to find more information, to find a deeper understanding of where these dreams are coming from.
Fen hated us when they met us, didn't they?
Not so much hated,
I don't know.
but they definitely did not,
Agree.
see you as people.
We were useful.
You were real useful.
Boston did not like Fen. Straight up did not like Fen.
Rich kid stereotype.
Rich kid stereotype who did not understand how the world worked at all. The kind of person that complains that something needs to be a certain way, but has never experienced the thing that they're trying to say needs to be done that way.
Oh, 100%. Sven was a spoiled little rich kid.
They still are a spoiled little rich kid.
I mean, Rick was just excited to meet all of you and experience people.
Yeah. I think Nash, one of the things that Nash kind of thought was cool was the initial, like, because you picked them as the person to talk to in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so initially that first conversation is sort of in a platonically intimate is what I'm going to say, because I have to be very careful here with chat to not give them too many ideas. But it's very up in all your business, right? Like,
Want me to give you a back point into like why I chose Nash?
I may hate it, but sure.
He seemed like the easiest to approach. Boston had already showed himself as very aggressively outward to Fen. And Baldric during the first little couple of meetings, he was very stoic, very quiet, very in the back, which fits with where his character just was. Nash was the one who was like, "Hey, how's it going? Things are happening. I gotta."
In Boston's defense, his home before he went to prison was just blown up.
Oh no, 100%. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just where Fen was at that point. This guy is very angry. I'm not gonna hop into his head.
Yeah, nobody was saying you were wrong or angry for all the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Rick definitely thought that you were just no.
Don't lie to me. You're like, wow, this shoe shiner is really touchy.
Fucking commoner here. Gosh, why is he speaking?
I didn't realize Trash could talk, or as chat put it, kind of like a rat fish out of a drain.
Yep, that comment was there.
Oh.
But yeah,
Also,
go ahead. Do we know Ramita was what? How did Ramita end up there? I don't actually know. Does anybody know this
showed
backstory?
up kind of with Viper, right?
Yeah,
She was running around with Viper, and Viper was coming for.
They were under house arrest, and this was basically a place to do community service.
Yes, that was what it was.
And they're arriving that morning to do so, and then this shows up. And they're like, well,
there's lots of things to do.
So Granny sent Viper home essentially, and was like, "Yeah, you guys seem like you know what you're doing and are working on fixing shit. I'll tag along."
Yeah.
That's wild because we definitely did not know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we fixed
bit.
anything.
It's a bold assertion, but
It was.
that was kind of the vibe of it.
well, you know, boomers, it's fine.
Yeah. And to speed us along, the beginning, I feel like a while was a lot of world setting. That if you've watched those episodes, you remember it. A lot of it was less character development. So I don't mind speeding through those unless folks have
the
big things they
intros
wanna
are
hit
kind
on.
of the important thing there.
Yeah. I will say one person I wish we got to see more of was the kid that we actually saw grow up.
Trixie?
Yeah,
Trixie.
Yes.
Yes, I thought that was her name. I wish we could see what happened with Trixie and all of that.
I have them included in an epilogue story that I've written.
That's great.
So
I was about to be like, well, as it happens, we have Trixie on the call.
Emerald, get in here.
Well, you know what.
But no, I do have part of my epilogue does actually include Trixie. So
Yeah.
there is some resolution for Trixie, assuming that we didn't talk these epilogues over too much. So assuming no one else has a better idea, this is a collaborative
She's
show.
Actually, my twin sister.
Whoa, that'd be kind of cool.
Because in mine, Trixie turns into like a terrorist and kills a bunch of people.
That's
So
weird.
is that not what you guys had?
No. Mine had her pulling some like kamikaze bullshit.
I mean, that's what.
I mean,
some
that's
terrorists
related.
do.
Mine had Boston
No, like,
unzipping
also
his
a thing.
tongue like a zipper and actually being Trixie the whole time.
That was a twist I wasn't prepared for.
I'm gonna need something stronger than this. Whatever this is.
No.
That was what I was gonna say, but I was like, no, that's too dark. I can't do that. And then you took it there.
But I think so. Can we talk a little bit about character arcs before we get too far? Because one of the things that I was working on with Nash, I mentioned early on, one of the things that I worked on with Nash, especially during those early episodes, was finally building back his confidence. And the sort of penultimate the penultimate fight in the school was a huge confidence booster for him. And is actually what empowered him to basically name the crew accidentally.
Which last opportunity, they are officially the Bodega Street team.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Okay.
Paperwork and everything.
Hell yeah. Don't worry, that'll come back too.
Oh, good. The Bodega Sheep team will come back every. Well, there'll just be a bodega everywhere we go.
There's still going to be bodega merch. We're on it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Hey, once we get enough followers, we're on it.
We're almost there.
You know what to do,
what,
chat.
10.
Follow.
less
Two.
than.
8.
We have
8.
42. We need 8.
We need 8. Yeah.
Wow.
Emerald,
really?
get 8 of your friends to follow us now.
Or just make 8 separate accounts.
That too.
Hey guys,
Follow us.
I need to do a thing, so I'm just gonna mute and do this. But I'm here with you in spirit.
That's wild. But so Nash also, as you could tell, was finding ways to show other people forgiveness throughout the show. We would find people who had done bad things or were trying to get a break, and Nash would be a lot of times the one in the party who would show them a little bit of mercy. And that was usually an intentional choice by me, as Nash was using other people in surrogate for himself. As he learned to show other people mercy, he slowly was learning how to show it to himself. And
That's very sweet.
slowly starting to forgive himself for losing his cool in a split second. So that's the sort of background arc that Nash is on for the entirety of the show. It's very slow, but if you watch it, it's there.
Yeah.
So are there any arcs like that for you guys? I know, Bright, we will get to you. I know that you have to sit there in silence for forever. I'm sorry about this.
I mean, I'll go next if that's okay.
Listen, I just get to sip my drink and watch y'all and just say my quips and jabs, and it's all good.
So, because of Boston's injury and what, from if you guys remember from the Dream episode that he went through, every night he relived the day that he died. He comes from the country of Loyalist, which is the fascist country, if we're being honest. It is police run, everyone's in Terminator or RoboCop armor, it has all the prisons, it's a slums. It is a place where the highest military is, but the poverty is unbelievably high. And he did not have it very well, and I know the whole Ulva Twist thing is funny, but when I was building Boston, I was trying to go for because this is a cyberpunk world, I was thinking kind of Cowboy Bebop style, where like Mars, it's supposed to be this beautiful paradise, but in reality, it's a dilapidated, terrible place, because everyone moved to Mars after Earth was destroyed 80, 90 years ago. So he is a person who had nothing. He built himself up, met Viper, a job went bad, and instead of his self-preservation, which he'd been doing for at least 25 years, went down the toilet. And he saved himself for Viper, and he died because of it. Also, Boston Jones was not his real name as he is expressed. His actual name was Andrew Ian Christoph.
The third.
The 12th.
No,
that's not actually true, but it feels like it needs a third, right?
Actually, he was going to have, I was either thinking a German or a British accent, but it never came up because Christoph is very Eastern Europe, and I wanted to do something with that. But it never came up, so it never was something that I was able to do. And in his eyes, he genuinely doesn't know if this is a dream or not. All he got after the surgery was a pair of dog tags on his chest, which was to Walter Gunn, the person who did the surgery, he assumes, but also was the way he got into Lythander's church. He went there, got an education, met Father Tobias and Marcel, and he was with the church for like 3 or 4 years, and after he had graduated and became the equivalent of a priest, he was then sent off to Itheros to do some of the work there. But because of his demeanor and his behavior, which is apprehensive at best, he was not welcomed, and he felt genuinely ostracized from the church because there wasn't Father Tobias there. The people that are supposed to be kind to him treated him more like a mindless brute than someone who has made that second chance through religion. And that's why he went back into a job he was good at, which was tracking down and beating the crap out of people. He still tried his best to do things with religions and things like that, but anytime he'd go to church, he felt betrayed, so he left. And as someone who fathers a chaplain and who has seen that process done several times, I had a lot of things to feed off of and kind of make that experience feel genuine, because yes, he is a priest, but no one acknowledges him as such. And because of his constant pain, he found a substance to abuse to try to make himself feel better. Not drinking, not smoking, because that stopped working after the whole paladin thing, but a painkiller. And he got hooked onto it, which is why I went to prison. And even after he met Nash, and after all this, he still doesn't know if it's real or not, because he's had this name. And every time there was a chance to go visit Lathander's temple, I never was able to bring this up because the game was so fast-paced, but he would try to go and try to find if anyone had heard of a Walter gun. And because he wants to find out who this person is and why. Why would they do this to a random stranger that, well, is missing all this on his side, his entire left torso or abdomen?
Also, real quick question, for in case somebody was here in spirit but not corporeally present. What was that name that you said for your character?
My character was
Yes.
Andrew Ian Christoph, Boston's actual name.
Walter Cronkite III.
That's
Andrew
the
Ian
vibe it
Christoph,
gives.
yes. And Walter Gunn is the doctor or surgeon or cybernetic specialist that did that. And yeah, when he met Nash, he made a friend. He knew that wasn't Nash's real name, because when you go into a cell, someone says it's their name, but when you join a cell, like, this is the person they're with. Even if he knew his real name, he didn't care. Because at this point, this is borrowed time and he was going to enjoy it. Or try to. Because for all this is, it's a dream. And that's on the last episode, he kind of talks about that. We've had that conversation kind of a couple of times. Where...
Yeah.
And every time it happens, Boston is trying to hint he doesn't know if this is real or not. And Nash is like, no, it's a back and forth they've had because they're both getting a second chance. But they got it at different points in their life and differently. So I love that contrast we have with them, because yes, they're both trying to get redemption and like live their lives to the fullest. But one of them is unbelievably cynical about it because of how it happened, versus you got a fresh slate with this new life out of prison versus I died.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like is Boston shouldn't have died.
Should have, yes.
Should not have.
Should not have. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you didn't want to end up like this, you shouldn't have died.
So he should have let the child Viper be murdered instead, and he'd have gone.
Listen, we didn't
I don't
say
know
that
if
there
you're
was a
aware,
good
but I
option
wasn't
in
here
this.
for all of your backstory because I was dealing with stuff. So
You saw the whole thing with Viper in Boston. Never mind.
wasn't
There
in
was
that
a thing.
scene.
But he also felt genuinely trapped because he tried to change his life and path by going to church and things like that. And because of his previous mistakes, his past life, he was sent back to the life he once lived, so he couldn't find whether or not if he actually had made the right choices to not end up in the same boat, because with how things were looking, he was with some people in this crew, specifically Fen, the life that they lived at their home, he felt more and more like that degenerate from loyalist who was just trying to survive, versus I was born with a platinum spoon in my mouth and spitting them out like they were bad candy.
I mean,
Well, it's like I feel judged.
Not even so much judged as a lot of Fen's stuff, while yes, was very much spoiled kid problems, it also came from a sense of genuinely, I want to be my own person. I don't want to be dictated to how I should live my life. I am not interested in taking these a bit easy paths that would make a much more sense. Their drive came purely from the unknown. Everything they wanted, every goal they had, came from not knowing anything about what they were. They didn't know what a Kalshatar was. They didn't. I mean, both of their parents did not dream like they did. None of their family members dreamed like they did. They were already ostracized, on top of the fact that when they brought up their dreams to their parents, they were medicated. To the point where they felt nothing. They completely were cut off from their magic, their sense of self, because it was not what was done. Because it was a little bit of a problem, being the weird one in the family of geniuses.
Hey, Blood, have you read The Giver before?
No.
Really?
I'm actually quite surprised about that, because that is something that does happen in that book. Like the main character, like when they reach puberty, they start having dreams and like urges and desires and things like that. But because their society is so utopian, so structured, what they do is when the kids have those, and it's just like, oh yeah, so it looks like you're of age. We're gonna give you this medication to stop those pesky dreams because you don't need them.
By the way,
They don't explain
spoilers
it
for
like
The
that.
Giver.
It's vitamins. They're like, oh yeah, it's time for you to now take your adult vitamins.
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, spoilers for a 30-year-old book, in case anyone hasn't read The Giver that wants to.
Spoilers!
The book is amazing.
How have you not like? Oh,
Hold
I've
on,
not
hold
read
on.
The
Are
Giver,
you
but I
going-
was in a play about it once.
Hold on. Are you Rev? Are you saying that you watched the movie?
no.
Only?
I mean,
Okay.
no. I was being judgmental to Blood, having not read the book.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about like you were just like, yeah, the movie was better, and I was
Because-
about to
So no,
fight
no, no,
you
no, no, no.
on that.
Here's a defense for me really quickly. A lot of the books that I find purely on my own because no one in my fucking family reads. I didn't make friends with people who read.
I read it as a school thing.
I read it as
I-
for school.
Nope.
I read it in middle school.
I
for school.
read Frankenstein
Which is
and all
funny,
that
'cause
shit.
Most of the books that people have read as school things, I missed because I moved across the country a lot,
Yeah.
and the curriculums are offset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So while I was in Vegas, they'd be like reading all the books that people normally read, like To Kill a Mockingbird is a
Yeah.
really big one that I've never read because it was never being read at the time that I was in a place.
Yeah.
I think you would really like it. Actually, it's a really
I don't care to.
okay.
I mean, he hasn't
fine.
even read my book
Have
yet, and
fun
I'm
with your 1973 physics textbook then.
First of all, it's from the 50s. Second of all, Boo Radley is a bitch.
anyway.
Back
I
on
will s-
topic.
One of the things I've noticed about our campaign, like learning this about Fen from this perspective, and even with Ramita, I don't know everything about Ramita's character, but each one of us were expressing or experiencing freedom for the first time
Mhm.
and trying to process it in our own way. Freedom from your family and trying to discover who you are. Baldric escaping from a place where he was about to literally get scrapped. Nash free of prison and trying to start a new life. Boston free from the chains of all of that. I
Well,
mean, even with Mal, your
Ramita.
character,
Oh, Justine. I was
Justine,
gonna
you
say like Ramita was trying to start, new from everything that happened in her past
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I don't remember whether I was on a call with Blood or with Bright,
Me.
but I literally said a version of this yesterday, where it's slightly different. But I saw this campaign a lot as a crew of people exploring second chances. Right? Boston is exploring his literal second life. Rick has finally has done the butler thing and is now experiencing a second chance at a different life. We have Bright's character, right? You had sort of an interesting medical career, but based on the conversations that we've had, it seems like a little bit humdrum, and you wanted something more. You wanted a second shot. Fen is one of the few that I don't know that fits, because Fen is real young for the rest of us. I know Ramita is
there is that
literally
freedom
looking,
of like the first time you get out of the house.
Yeah.
And
right.
I feel like that's what Fen had.
Well, and that's where mine didn't quite fit. Freedom fits better, but I was saying second chances personally. Yeah. And it fits everybody but Fen, because Ramita is literally learning to live a second time after, like, the dying emotionally with the death of her wife.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so something that I was playing and like factored heavily into Rick's whole thing was the like transition from the very beginning, where Rick was hyper formal, and essentially still in butler mode. There were like jokes here and there in the later episodes of him like being prim and keeping everything clean, but it was absolutely relaxed and toned down from the very beginning, where he was constantly having to make use of himself. If he was in a space, he had to have a purpose there. And then as that went on, he was more discovering himself as an individual person, not as a thing of service to someone else.
It's interesting. I think were you gone when I talked about Nash's really slow arc of his character? Did you leave during that? No, you weren't.
No.
Okay.
I only missed a portion of Brett's.
Okay, gotcha.
Of course you
Yeah. Well,
My wife called me.
the least important portion.
Oh my
She's not the
lord.
least important.
No, mine, not
Oh,
yours.
your wife is the least important?
No,
It's a
my
mean thing for you
story.
to say.
Don't get me in trouble.
No, I know I'm the most important thing in your life. It's fine. To be fair.
Also, Emerald, I wrote him just for you.
But yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot to each of the characters that we never really got to delve into.
Yeah.
Because a lot of... I mean, just personally with Fen was so bottled up from not trying to count on anyone, because they talked to their family about something that was scaring them in the past, and was immediately met with, "Oh, we don't do that." Okay. And when they expressed interest in magic, their father was like, "That's not worth anything. Don't do that. Follow tech. Magic is
Safe.
an archaic old practice that is out of fashion for a reason." Okay?
Very onward.
Very, very onward.
I need to watch the movie again. It's very good.
It is.
What's that movie about?
I mean, it's Tom Holland, so you know, that's all you gotta worry about.
Is that
but yeah,
that kid that plays Spider-Man sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
every once in a
Andrew
while.
Garfunkel?
Oh my gosh.
And Oates?
But yeah, and so honestly,
Go ahead.
with them getting with us moving on into from Vorak to the dream to like this point where we were investigating the cults and stuff like that, them having this sudden surge of power, of importance and stuff like that. Oh, I'm in charge of something. I am doing something that he will be proud of, that someone would be proud of me for. Only for it to be an absolute fucking nightmare the entire campaign.
Did you actually ever get to have a sit down with Fen ever have a sit down and talk to their dad about what they actually were able to do at all, or no? Were you hoping for that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if that needs to come up, that'll be in the epilogue.
Well, that was both a current question and a future question, Was the yes to they've had this conversation, or yes to they'd like to have this conversation?
They never had that conversation.
Okay, because there was just a yes and there were 2 questions, and I got a
was
little
shaking
lost.
my head. Gosh, look
Oh,
at me,
I
Tony.
missed that.
This is an audio and visual.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a question for the group, if I may ask.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think our characters? Well, no. When did you think the characters actually started a friendship, as it were? Obviously, Boston and Nash had their own version of a friendship and relationship before the campaign started. But what moments do you think our characters kind of interconnected and actually became a team or friends?
Sippies and stretchies, by the way.
I think for Rick, the big moment was when Boston pulled him aside and came clean about what him and Nash were trying to do. Because it's like that moment of trust of hey, let's lay this all out. I saw you as money, and now I see you as a person. So I think that was the big moment for Rick.
For the entire group, or just with Boston specifically?
I mean, for you two, and I mean, Boston kind of was always the head of the group, is at least the vibe that I had. In a lot of ways. So if I have respect for you, I have respect for the group as a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of interesting. I feel like in the early days, Boston was really leading the charge, and that transitioned later on. I think as it should, based on what the arc was. In that last arc, I think it was Fen who was leading us, and there was those were the 2 main, I think, leaders of the crew. Nash would have spurts where he would jump ahead and be like, "I'm doing this, everybody follow," right? But he wasn't really the leader. He was more just like,
The impulse.
"You better follow me." Not always impulse. Sometimes it was just there are things that you are drawn to that by your very fiber of your being, they aren't things that you are oh, I just thought of this, I have to do this. It was, there's no other way. There's not an A or B choice, it's just A. Right? And Nash would take the lead in those scenarios more and more as we go. For Nash, it's different for each person. Each person has a moment that he sort of lets them on. Obviously, he and Boston, we actually did this. I'll share this if you won't. We actually did a pre-session 0 session with Boston and Nash, where we actually did play out a time they had in prison where they are exhausted from a day where shit's just gone wrong. And Nash has been desperately looking for something to cling to, and Boston talks about Lathander, and puts together a kindness that Boston never puts out again, basically, for a long time. There is a goodness and a kindness in Boston that Nash saw in that pre-session 0 session that he knows is in there, that he identifies with. And that is why he's always by Boston's side, is because he knows deep inside that is there.
I think the closest time we saw to that was when Boston punched Fen in the face and kind of said, you need to, I understand you're going through some stuff, but you need to get over it.
Yeah, Boston doesn't know how to express it. But Boston actually is a big old softie in the right scenarios. So,
he has his moments of, but because of it's such high stakes the entire time, he had no moments to actually... Yeah. The other times, I think that the closest we saw to it was when he was spending time with Amelia. He was just a guy hanging out with a potential friend, just walking throughout the town. And genuinely, there was no romantic interest. Boston is asexual, as I wrote him. And that does not mean he can't find people attractive. He just has no drive for that. And if people want to hang out with him, sure, but there's no plan or anything like that to be romantic.
Honestly, I don't know if I just missed stuff, but that's the first that I'm hearing that. So that's really cool.
The 370?
No, the aceness, because Rick
Oh.
also was like canonically asexual, which was like that's not even. It wasn't forced or anything like that. It was made clear that like in this world, the automatons could have desires and could even be made for purposes. It was just not something that was on the horizon for Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why he was so confused, he said, "You're dating this chick, right?" And he's like, "What? That was a date?" And he's like, "Oh, okay." Like,
Yeah.
went over his head.
Which is something we as players did not know until like this last week when Brett has dropped it like 4 times now. But we did
Told
not
all
know.
of you guys several different times that Boston was ace. Yes, I did. 100%. Watch the episodes where the dates are going on.
Let me go to the original chat for the group, and I'll just search the
Talk
word
about the
ace
episode.
and asexual. Let's see if they ever come up.
So, but
Figurehead Zero Riz.
to keep going on this whole like when do we become friends, with Baldric, it was honestly the temple explosion. That shit trauma bonds you like super glue. I have made friends for life based on like going to a school event for a day. Being an explosion will instantly make friends of you. Fen was a lot longer, honestly. Fen, it was probably somewhere on the other. I don't have a specific event for Fen because it was slow with Fen. Fen, it was I think shortly after heading through the portal in the church for the first time. You know, weirdly around the time that Fen kills somebody. Now that I think about that, that's wild. That those two are aligned. They're not related.
He said, "That's hot." God, Fred, this lady.
Fred, this, he, him.
They, them.
Right? He, they? No.
Fen and Rana is they, them. They were born he, him. They are.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
This, they, them. I knew that. I was able to keep track of that, I'm sure.
I did, because I had accidentally misgendered Fen improperly. Like I misgendered them and was wrong. And you caught it, and I was like, "Oh, that's my bad."
My light fell.
I was being a dick, and I was bad at it.
But yeah, because because for the longest time, a lot of us just immediately assumed. We didn't ask Fen, which as characters was rough. And so then we had ideas of Fen in our brains that were hard to erase, instead of asking them at the beginning.
I mean, y'all kind of started like hitting the ground running. Like y'all, like it started off with a bombing. Like,
I'm
was
sorry
playing
that we
good.
didn't ask for your pronouns in the aftermath of the explosion.
exactly.
I know that blood is cool with it. Like, we're fine. But also, that was just a funny sentence that I had to put out into the universe, you know? So, yeah. And then Ramita, honestly, Ramita was very early. Because Ramita immediately, like, Nash could sense some kindred spirit in Ramita. Honestly, I think they were friends from literally like an hour after meeting.
That's awesome.
She was, I don't know if y'all remember this, but literally right afterwards we went and ate, and then on the way out of the pub, Nash had Ramita rode on Nash's shoulders. That was the moment. That was it. it was like, and you just like, you know, you meet an old person, you're like, you're adopted, done.
You're my grandma now. It's
or-
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
my best friend now. We're getting soft tacos.
with the doctor, it was actively happening
Yeah.
last episode.
Yep.
It was literally where
We were entering Ben's house.
It was. I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on the
no,
drive there too.
That was for sure the moment. Is when the doctor leans over and goes, "Are we safe here? Like, you guys aren't gonna kill me, right?"
Middle of the woods, just like.
And Nash is like, "Fuck it, this is the moment to be a comedian."
The 6'3" guy with a chain axe on his thigh.
The secret clam, though.
The secret
The
clam.
secret clam. The sacred pearl.
Oh my
Don't
god.
like that.
But yeah. So sorry. Anyway,
You're good.
I was.
This would be
what
a good
else?
question for us to ask to kind of express where our characters were emotionally.
Whoa.
We haven't all
hadn't
gone
gotten through.
Oh, I know, but you said sorry for getting off topic, and I was explaining why I did this question. We're not done.
But I was pitching it to Fen,
Sorry, go ahead.
and then Bright, your wife.
I didn't say we were okay.
How dare
Wild.
you?
Wild.
Oh my
Sorry,
lord,
Fen.
guys, you good.
Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, you
We're the fucking
silenced him.
worst.
Love you, Brett. Love
Hold
you.
on, wait.
buddy.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Oh, she's gotta go take care of her husband. You bullied him too hard.
I may have bullied him too hard. Sorry, Brett.
I locked the door.
You're too close to the sun.
Call me Icarus, because I'm plummeting, baby.
You locked the door on her. Is she banging on it right now?
No, she's singing all by myself in very dramatic fashion.
That's great.
That's even better.
And I'm trying to see fingers under the table, under the door.
Wow.
The grabby hands. Oh my god, that's great. So that's a clip. That is hilarious. I fucking love that. Anyway.
Wait, I'm gone. Why am I gone? Oh no, okay, I'm here.
You're not. You're good. You're good.
I was watching stream, not Discord.
Oh.
I already am in possession of the clip, for the record.
Oh my god.
When you got friends in chat places, they said
Welcome
all
back,
sorts of
right?
stuff.
Hello. I'm here.
But no, Fen,
When did I become friends
Wait.
with you assholes?
yeah, when did
So, for the record, I haven't gone either, so I don't know why you're saying that I don't get to go also.
Well,
Um,
it's
you were changing the topic, my friend.
It's
don't make me
But
come
yes,
over there
if you'd
again.
like to go, it's either you, Fen, or Bright.
Fen first. You were gonna pass it off to Fen. Go for it, buddy.
I think
Toss it over.
for Fen, honestly, they kind of took a while with Boldrick, just because they didn't interact with him very much in the beginning. I think I can't pinpoint an exact moment, mostly because I have the memory of a goldfish, and at this moment in time, I am seeing colors instead of things. So there's that.
You know, it always hits when you least expect it. 15 minutes away.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Help me.
Little Caesars.
Hold fish.
Anyway,
I'm
Fen,
I'm
while you
sorry.
get that, while you get your brain together, do you, is it okay if Brett goes?
With Nash, obviously, it was before the campaign started. With Baldric specifically, I genuinely think that their friendship started. It was relatively early on. It wasn't. Trying to think of the exact moment. I mean, from the very beginning, he liked Baldric, just because he was genuinely a good person. Or he thought he was, anyway. If that was true or not is to be decided.
He committed so much arson.
That doesn't
So
make you a
much.
terrible person.
I mean,
By some
Ironically,
standards.
Poppy never figures that out.
That is true. We never know about that.
Yeah.
Nash does make a joke about it, though.
I think it was also mentioned in front of Justine, and she's like, "Do I need to be worried about this?"
But I think genuinely it was like the day of that they met because of just Baldric's willingness to be kind and complacent, which is why he's like, I can't turn this guy in. As much money as it would be, he could not do it in good conscience. I guess in that way, Baldric is kind of the reason why Boston realized that he wasn't the same person he was before he died. Because beforehand, he wouldn't have cared. Because what, $200,000 is $200,000 or whatever. With Fen, I think it actually has to be after we lost our informant when we are dealing with the cult, when Fenrana was kind of having that mini panic attack, and Boston kind of says, "Welcome to the field," because they weren't some pompous brat. Well, they were, but they were also someone trying to do the right thing and struggling because this isn't as easy as they thought it would be. That's the first steps towards friendship. With Ramita, there were so many mixed feelings that Boston had towards Ramita.
Does he not
She
like
was-
butterscotch?
It's nothing like butterscotch. Genuinely, he thought she was weird. Nothing against Darkness. I adore Darkness. Darkness is great. Don't want to make that very clear.
No.
They're not here to defend themselves. But Boston is someone who has never had a parental figure. So for this woman he's never met, to be related to someone who caused his death, to say, "You're my child now," and treat him like such, it felt uncomfortable. But there was no way for him to say that without either Ramita trying to blow up and defend herself or the group trying to defend that circumstance. He felt. Not saying that's what would have happened, but the last time he sort of expressed, like, it's not your decision, was when Ramita realized, you died that day saving Viper, let's get you to a hospital. And he said, "That's not your business." That was the only time I can really think of him putting his foot down. He's like, "I do not need your assistance like this. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I don't need that." And how do you express that to someone who has taken upon themselves to make you theirs without really getting your consent to do so? That was sort of the struggle he had with him. I love Ramita as a character. I think she's great, and I understand why Darkness played her that way, and she played it brilliantly.
Mhm.
Genuinely. Great. Boston had his frustrations. They had done some things together that were awesome, some tag teams, some good combat, some great banter. And he was supportive of her when other people would not, because he understood some of the pains that she went through, even though he was not the oldest member of the party, and she would call him grandson and Sonny, which also got on his nerves, but he did care for her. And with the doctor, he had no relationship with her because I wasn't there for, like, they did not interact all that much, genuinely. Not yet, anyway. No, Ramita was the oldest at 340. And then Baldric, out of the younger people, out of like the more humanoid people, I think he was the oldest. He's like 32, 35.
You
How
said
old-
39.
You said 39.
Rick was in his 70s.
Right. Well, no, he thinks he didn't know how old he was, so he'd always guess up. But biologically speaking, he was like 33.
Okay, but it's still, even with that, before we got Justine, you were definitely the oldest, because, like I said, Ben was 23. Nash was only about 30?
27,
Nash-
right? Like 27, 28.
Also, if Boston has
28.
died, doesn't that mean he's actually only like 1 or 2?
Actually, no, he'd still be like 6.
It
He was a
depends
leap year
on the
kid.
respawn mechanics. Sometimes your levels don't reset properly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like Minecraft, you start back at 11 instead of.
We don't think
So it
about
could
it.
have been
Patch that.
14.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he had no real relationship with the doctor. She was cool. It was nice to see someone else being able to heal people. But that's
He says around the cleric.
Nash. Hadn't Nash healed anybody?
No,
No.
because we never got into fights when Nash was a cleric, except the one, and nobody actually got hit by the big robot.
Yeah.
That was it. I was waiting for it. I actually had a whole
Well, there
big
was
thing
also
planned.
the animal kidnapper terrorists.
That's true, but Nash
fought
wasn't
that.
involved in that combat. Only
Yeah.
Ramita was, and she beat the shit out of some poor guy who was minding his business.
Took his kneecaps.
We basically took 0 damage since the moment Nash became a cleric almost a full year ago.
You were like, we need a healer. No, we don't.
No, we don't. We'll
Um,
just talk our way out of things.
I had a whole big thing,
Exactly, Emerald.
but yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
whole big thing? What was it gonna be?
So part of the meta gamey sort of reason that I made Nash a cleric, it fit narratively, but it also worked mechanically, background wise, was because I knew that Boston was our only healer and also was squishy enough and dumb enough to try to be a frontline fighter. And so if Boston goes down, we have nobody. And so early on,
Put healing on the tank.
healing on the Nash. So the way this would have gone in my brain is Nash would have been raging. They would be fighting. Boston would go down. Nash would have to drop his rage and use the energy from that rage, fuel it into Lathander, and basically say, don't you give up on me, buddy. Because any other time that anybody got hurt, Boston was immediately there giving away those healing points that would keep Boston himself alive. So
Which
really,
I
this
also-
only worked for Boston.
I loved that too, because the fights we had been up to that point were really hard. We kept coming into those fights being like, wow, we need backup characters. So I think 3 or 4 of us had talked about how our backup characters were straight up dedicated healers.
Yeah. my backup character was going to be a druid named Willow, fire druid. knows?
I had a Celestial Pact Warlock.
I did not actually have a full backup character fleshed out, but I did want to make a hacker. Because that's part of the world that the crew never interacted with, and I felt like if we're gonna have a cyberpunk world,
We need someone on the tech.
I wanted someone to do the tech.
We
So,
had very low intelligence in this group.
We did.
Well,
we on
did
average.
rule that thieves' tools were hacking proficiency.
Yes, because Baldric did
we
do that a
did
couple
interact
of times.
with that, yeah.
Very early on, we did
Yeah.
like 3 times. Like
But
maybe.
there was a lot of technology we did not interact with.
Mm.
And so whether that would have been an artificer or whether that would have been, I guess, a rogue or a wizard of some sort or something in that realm.
I mean, clearly it would be the monk.
Mhm.
Could be.
Or the
Could
fighter. Or the cleric.
It'd be a
As a
barbarian
knowledgeable
for
cleric.
sure. But anyway, so that was the entire idea. He actually had spare the dying, so that if he couldn't get to him in time, For death saves, he could actually do death save prevention if he was out of spell slots. There was a lot of extra spells that were to prevent the party from kicking the bucket until we could get help, or keeping us from,
I would have been so upset had somebody done that to Rick, though.
long term, Nash's goal was to get Revivify. Side note.
Rick was
I don't know how that-
absolutely- like, he was of the opinion, because he never really considered himself a person, just that he was now a thing with freedom. So he would have been furious if he had, like, died, and then somebody went through the effort of bringing him back. Because he'd be like, no, I'm done. I did my bit.
So my question is that would that have been knocked unconscious or like permadeath, like he died?
I feel like permadeath would be the bigger one.
Mm-hmm. Boston was 100% a similar vein. He would have been like, I've already played my cards. I shouldn't be here to begin with. Don't bring me back. Save your money.
And Nash puts a high value on friendship.
What?
And
1/3 of
none
Nash's
y'all
friends would have been pissed at him had he revived them.
For the record, none of y'all had a DNR. So I am in my full right
You know, he's
as
right.
your
You know, it never came up.
medical professional until Bright got there.
It is canon. No one here has seen Rick without a shirt.
But
No,
we have
No.
dogs out.
No, we got you had a engraving done on you, therefore you had to take it off.
No,
Yep.
You just have to
That was
lift
on
your
his head,
shirt.
he
wasn't
did
it?
have the engraving done, and it was. I thought I made a joke about it being a tramp stamp.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Regardless, though, it was. You can lift your shirt to get that done.
Yeah.
This is true. Which would be us seeing under your shirt.
Yeah, but not all of under my shirt. You put
That's
the
true.
DNR right here.
God,
Yeah,
Yes.
right in between his flashlights, you know, his headlights.
What is this, Dumb and Dumber?
I cast light.
But anyway, sorry, Boston. How far in the process of friendship were you? Did you
I think
get? all the-
I finished.
got into
I wrapped
Rita,
mine up
yeah.
for everyone. Yeah.
Fen, do you have your colors together now?
I'm good. Yes, sorry, my brain. Oh lordy. Anyway, so like I was saying, with Baldrick, it was definitely later on. Potentially around the time we got the Rickmobile. Not specifically because Rickmobile, but because like that was the point where Fen was like, "Oh, he's doing his own thing. No one owns this guy." Okay, cool. He's just a person. Okay, cool.
Person
Which
indeed.
was another reason why Fen was so uncomfortable with signing the contract to quote unquote own Baldrick. Because they had already like rectified in their head, okay, so he's not like the ones that I have at home, the ones that are owned by somebody. He's not that.
Which I want to clarify. At least in my head, the reason for Rick being different from all of those, because he was purpose-built to just be Butler.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, it was always just that he was so old that he was going through robot senility. And that gave him freedom.
He was just glitching real hard.
That's that. And also, if I may be honest, Boston only suggested that Fen get it, or like I don't remember the exact conversation, but I think at first we suggested Fen, and Fen was like, no. Then Boston's like, well, okay, then I guess I'll do it. And he's like, no, I want it now, and he's just like, okay. Genuinely,
That was realistically the two people it had to be, though. Was either he would be Fen's assistant or one of Boston's employees, but as a robot.
Boston genuinely would have much preferred. He offered it to Fen because it made much more sense, and also Fen could give Boston a life better than what Boston could. But genuinely, Boston would prefer to have given Rick a job.
Okay. I got
Which-
lost there in the Bostons.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, he would have wanted to keep. He would. This is gonna sound awful. He would want to have kept Rick, and having Fen claim Rick as their property, which is unfortunate. But he wanted to do that, but he did not feel like he would have been able to either A, protect Rick from the other cowboys doing so, or let him explore the rest of the world the way that Fenn could. So. But go back to what you were saying, Fenn. I apologize.
You're good. And as I was saying, with Nash, they trusted Nash earlier, but I don't think they ever really saw him as a friend until until the elementary school. The elementary school was a turning point for a lot with Fenn, because at that point they were just like, okay, well, I'm following these people around. I'm now officially dragged into this. I guess I better do something about it. And then when they got to the elementary school, it was very much the point in which, one, we've now had to fight together, like an actual fight. Because like running from the church and all that stuff through the portal and all that stuff was terrifying, but also not quite trauma bonding. It's very much a, okay, well, I've just shattered that onto someone. I am going to process that for a hot second. And then going through and following through with the leads, getting to the point of, oh, this is a lot deeper than what I thought, and as far as I can tell, these people could just like fucking leave when they want to. Like, they don't have to be here. I officially have to be here. I have taken literal control of this investigation. I have to be here. And they stuck around. To the detriment of themselves greatly when it came to the elementary school, because we did get into a fight and we did get a lot of things happening to us in that point. There were a lot of things that most definitely wanted to kill us. And the fact that we were only able to save a couple of kids and then lost Danielle. It was kind of like that final moment of, I'm a fuck up. I didn't even get done the job I was supposed to here. Why are they still here? And Justine, was very, very much one of those, oh, you're, once again, the same cycle of, you're useful. And the bad habit that Fenn has, new people are not, like, people until they prove that they're not going to leave them, or they're not going to judge them, or
So what part of Auroran society trains that into everyone who's there?
I mean, honestly, their economy.
Yeah, actually,
Their economy is
really
like
the economy.
based on, you have as much value as you provide to me, and therefore that is their money.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Also, you didn't say for Boston or Armida yet, just letting you know, Blood.
No, I know. Honestly, it
They're
was...
not friends.
Yeah, fair. I've punched them twice. Or one, no.
And killed them once.
Twice, and killed me once.
Real quick, Emerald, we did, back in episode 1, we laundered Baldrick's money, so it was technically untraceable.
Yes. Thanks to Boston, actually, I believe, or was it
also,
Spider?
I was just rereading the episode 1 notes. I didn't realize we put that money on a glove, which we had given to Edward, and he was technically the last person with the glove. We had asked early in session 2, hey, would it be okay if we kept that glove?
I remember that.
The entire campaign could have been with a very poor Rick.
That would have honestly probably been much more interesting.
One of us.
One of us.
One of us.
Shut up! Shut up, Bush Kid!
I mean, to be
No.
fair,
Outside of
wouldn't have
Auroran,
been
I had
all
no fucking money.
You did. You had government money.
I really didn't.
You kept paying
I was
for
about to
shit
say,
with
government
government when I
assistance
couldn't
is
afford chicken
shit.
nuggies.
I think technically, other than
No, Baldric paid
Rick,
for
I
most
was
of
the second wealthiest, but that's because I earned my money. Ramita, and then it was me, I think, technically.
Yeah,
But-
you with your $200.
We had a whole socioeconomic class system going on in this group to
We
everyone.
really had everything from like 1%ers all the way down to basically homeless people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, technically, Nash just was homeless for the campaign.
No, 100% he was. Like, there was a futon in Boston's office that he could stay at if he really needed to.
Yeah. Nash never had his own place the entire time. Yeah.
Rick was also like without a home.
I mean,
Like,
Rick indefinitely rented a floor of a hotel.
Also true. But prior to that, they were houseless.
Yeah.
You
They
are in
started
fact
off.
houseless.
True.
So I think he would have been like the one least affected by being without a house.
True. It's not like he needs to eat or
He'd have
sleep.
just charged off of a lamppost every now and then.
You know, as the lamppost band, he just keeps stealing lampposts.
Yeah.
The lamppost guy.
God. But yeah, as for the friendship with the rest of them, I think honestly a lot of it happened around that same point, is at the elementary school.
Mhm.
Because once again, Fen was at the very much a low point, like self-esteem wise. Their first fucking job, they fucked it up. They had nothing to go off of, and these assholes were still around. Which is
I love
far
how
more.
misleading it is to be like, oh yeah, their friendship goes back to the elementary school.
Yeah.
So it makes it seem like they've been friends for decades.
Nope! It's literally just a little bit of time. So
I
tiny.
met you a week ago. We're besties now.
No soft tacos, only hard tacos here.
Like
Crunch.
the crunch.
Some
It's
sort
so
of
close
wild-
to taking the biggest gulp when he said that.
I guess. Yeah. Wife, what about you? What was Justine's perspective on these chuckles?
Psychopaths.
Yeah, did any of us warrant friendship?
I will say honestly, I think Nash was the closest that she got with them because of, trying to make her feel comfortable on their way to Fenn's estate, and, just like kind of doing that kind of reassuring, like comfort. And also not to mention like the first day, like after they had gone to the warehouse and she had used her gaze of two minds to see through Grizzle and get the information that she needed in case they were to go out. She held on to Nash. She was like, "Do you mind?" And just held on to him. And he was like, "Okay, well, guess I'm staying here." And that was it. And that, like, he literally was her rock in that moment, so to speak.
Nash is a little bit like a golden retriever that's being petted by a little kid, and it's just, go, this is where I'm at now.
Yep. Exactly.
This is where I
Um,
stay.
This is, we're in it now. Let's go.
Yep. Other than that, honestly, I can't say that she had really established friendship. The only thing I can think of is like we broke lasagna together. Like,
We didn't really get to like describe how that went though, but like,
well, we kind of, because I was like, I don't want to just like go into a whole ass dinner scene when like we literally have nothing to talk about except for work related stuff. And, we're on a time crunch, like, there's a whole underground that's going on, not to mention, it's like, oh yeah, the drug drop, that's happening in about 3 hours, and it's like, oh shit, let's go. Like we became so fast-paced. I do imagine that, like, her and Boston talked in the car when they were all in the cafeteria, and kind of just made some, like, general small talk, but otherwise, she didn't really have much. She very much went into this with a lot of blind faith of just like, and it's just like, if you're in this, you're in this. Are you good, Doc? And she's just like, sure, yeah, you know what? I am actually in on this. Let's go.
And then we showed you so many illegal things we did.
Yes. Many, and she also participated technically in those illegal things because she let you guys just into a private lab.
We're so good at convincing people to do bad things for us.
To be fair, like, one thing that I kind of alluded to, and it's just like, like, she went to this school, she still works at this school's hospital. She's like, she's not above, like, she's like, yeah, no, you don't know how many people I've helped cheat on their exams and like their projects and stuff like that. Like, I got my PhD mostly because I learned off of other people's work that they had me do. Like, reverse cheating almost. So she didn't necessarily get the chance to be friends, but I can imagine that she would have been like if I was to like order, like in order of like who she became friends with, it was like Nash, then probably Fen. I feel like Boston and Rick would be on the same one, and then I do think that Ramita probably, because it's like, although I think she would have bonded with Ramita over like the longevity of their lives, and because I made breathing works when I talk too fast.
Oh, buddy.
But yeah, because she was an elf. She was she was actually a mark of shadow elf is what I made her. Because I was like, well, just in case combat happens, I need to be kind of prepared at least. Because coming into this campaign, I knew we didn't have a lot of combat, so I was just like, I can be a fully dedicated healer. But I did have a couple of tricks up my sleeve, like the alarm spell and the invisibility spell, in case we needed to do some sneaky sneaks, But I think that she did kind of. I'm gonna bump up Ramita to be under Fen. So it was Nash, Fen, Ramita, and then Boston and Baldric, kind of on the same level. Cause, yeah, but there was a lot to Justine's backstory that Gears and I went over for like a couple of days. Like, we talked about it back and forth.
I'm actually surprised that Boston not be up there more to Finn. I figured she'd want to try to, like a better word, pop him open to see what secrets he held.
So that was something that actually, like, when, because she was just like, because I remember Ramita being, you're a doctor? Rip! Fix him! Like, like, absolutely, like, ripping open Boston's suit, and you going, what the heck? Why? And so what we ended up, and that was something that, like, I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, as a doctor and as a, like, me personally being a medical professional and working in the medical field for as many years as I have, and I'm just like, because, right? And so, like, what Justine wanted was to respect his autonomy, because she's like, okay, obviously this guy doesn't get a whole lot of that, I guess, like, just off of this one interaction, like, and he, like, the way that Boston acted is just like, well, this has happened before. She's like, ooh, let's not do that. Like, she did, and that's one of the reasons why she focused. She was like, Ramita's finger needs to get fixed first and foremost. She needs to understand that this digit is quite important. And she figured, like, especially with the way that Boston reacted, she was like, you know what, I'm gonna let him open up on his own time. Like, I'll let the pot simmer, and then when the clam opens, it opens. The secret clam.
Those rich people. And their secret clam, the things that they can pay for, called therapy.
Right. Ugh. But
Boston got therapy. It's shaped like a bottle.
Fen didn't
pills
get therapy.
pills
Fen
are
got told
wine.
to shut the fuck up and take the pills.
We've had too many interventions. He can't be using the bottle for therapy.
No, it's a
No
pill
more.
bottle. It's a pill bottle.
I mean,
Not
More
better.
do it again.
More discreet. But yeah, so I would say that was kind of her order of operations, because she saw that, like, Boston gives off the vibe
Don't touch me.
of, like, don't fuck with me, I'll talk to you when I gotta talk to you. Like, and she was like, alright, cool, we'll do that. And considering the situation she was thrust into with, like she was just trying to have a nice time on her day off with like the circus and,
Us
just
too.
trying to see
Yeah,
a
us
cool
too.
thing. And then all of a sudden she's like, well, gotta do my job. I'm on call already. Let's do this. And then like these weirdos are like, this seems connected. Let's do this. And then it's like, all right, guess we're all in this together. Because she truly could have, and granted, like no good D&D starts with like, well, I did my part of the job. Bye guys. And like just walk
Goodbye.
away. Like no, like because she was like, I felt like I needed to almost justify why she was joining. She was like, he's a ragtag. Like these guys aren't from here. There's no way. And then she heard Fen drop their name, and then she was like, oh.
That one's
You
from here.
are from here. And that was something that definitely took her for a loop, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of friendships and stuff for her.
Awesome. Should we take a break and then come back and do our epilogues, or do some more questions afterwards? Because we're hitting the halftime part.
I'd be good for a quick break, like 5
Yeah.
minutes or so.
I need to go potty.
Ditto.
Here's your
Someone
hall
has
pass.
to take Rev out to potty.
Hall pass.
Alrighty. We'll be right back, guys. See you in a little bit.
See ya.
We're out.
You cut out.
You did.
You did. Over different dark.
You sure about that?
Our derpert dear.
I didn't have myself unmuted. We're the worst. We're back.
Hello.
So it didn't even
That's
matter.
It didn't. I'm sorry.
How
I
could you? I'm
What
Can't
is
mod
just
this
a
one,
problem?
bitch.
note to self, kicking blood from chat.
Kicking from call.
I'm the one recording this, you assholes.
I do. And what Rev do? I mean, well, never mind. I know what Rev did.
Ref didn't do
What I do?
shit. Why am I being thrown out here?
My first ever comment on this channel was, "This is looking so good."
Wow.
So, we answered a couple of questions and did a bit of lore about our characters over here. Is there any other questions or things you want to discuss before we do our little epilogues for our characters and say farewell?
To these characters.
Anything we want to ask about other characters or like any?
A lot of the stuff that I wanted to ask actually got covered already.
Mm-hmm.
I will
Yeah,
say
I-
we did go over backstories and I forgot to give Justin's backstory.
Oh,
That is very quiet. I'm sorry.
No, I'm also talking quietly.
They didn't get to do Justine's backstory.
But it's right. We're the worst.
What you do
To be fair, I think
to
Justine was only
me?
a canon member of the group in one episode.
That is true. That is true.
I don't care what canons think about Justine's position.
But I also have like 3 pages of backstory
Cannons
notes.
are always instruments.
Yeah.
What
just
is
have them
mayonnaise?
Not
You
a
know-
Tchaikovsky.
Tchaikovsky? Oh, you're right. It is Tchaikovsky. No, but honestly, no. I feel awkward like having asked to give.
Do your thing.
Now you're
well, I
on
mean-
the spot. Go.
I know. So Justine was born and raised in Auroran. She was born as one of the youngest of 2 kids. And both of her parents were kind of like middle class in Auroran. So like obviously like they live well, you know, like they're not struggling or anything like that, but like there was definitely tension in the household, as every good D&D character starts off with most of the time. Her mom was a librarian, her dad was a professor, but she was estranged from them because her mother was a gambler, and her dad overcompensated for that by or actually he wasn't a professor, he was actually a vice president of a company, the like COO or something like that, some bigwig title in a company, and so in Auroran Gears and I talked about it, and it was really weird because in Auroran it's not like you necessarily have the option to gamble a lot, but there are certain ways that you can do it, and I don't think I ever figured out how that was, but essentially what ended up happening was she needed to prove herself, you know, as every good traumatized Auroran kid learns.
So all of them.
Yeah. And so she needed to prove herself and she needed to explore more. But in the moment, she was going through a lot. And so when she was younger, she had an older brother named Nuvian. And he was studying medicine as well, a different branch of medicine than what she did. He was studying viruses and infections and diseases and things like that. And so he was going through and he was kind of struggling with his classes, but he was getting there. But their parents were always hounding them. You need to make sure that we make up for what we're losing, you know, as a family, you know, like you gotta make sure that you uphold the family name, you know, like the Glintresses, you know, we can't die out, you know, like you need to make sure you hold up the family name, get a good family, get a good job, everything like that. And her brother, as soon as he graduated college and university, he left. He was like, I'm sick of all of your crap. You guys are the worst hypocrites in the world, and I'm sick of it, and I know that there's more besides Roran, and I don't care what it costs to do it. I'm leaving. And he ended up packing up his stuff, and within a couple of hours he was gone. And before leaving, he did go to Justine, and he essentially snuck out her bedroom window at the time, and she was like I think 30 or 40 when that happened, because she was still in like kind of high school age for being an elf. And so she was around that age, and he was like, this isn't because of you, but I want you to know that you are more than what this family has to offer. Make something of yourself. And he left out the window with whatever he had, and she never saw him again. And so what she did was she got her degree. She became a doctor. You know, she probably has like multiple degrees, but the doctorate in medicine is what stands out the most. And she went through the process of changing her name while she was in school. Which, for, you know, as a recap, you know, like, the names in Auroran are a huge deal because your reputation is attached to your name. So she had to go through a whole process. It was basically like going through immigration, and like in something of that nature. Like, um, you know, Tony and I were talking about that, Emerald. Actually, it's kind of funny. We almost none of us went by our like technical like given
Given
names.
names.
Um, but
I
so
think
she
the
went through.
only one was Ramita.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
Because- yeah.
Yeah, but Justine's born name was Ielena Glintris. That was her name, and honestly, it's a really pretty name. I'm actually kind of proud of it. And I was like, why did I make that the backstory name? Because I was like, I need something easy to remember. I don't know. Um, and So she went through the whole process of changing her name. It took a couple of years, but she was able to do that. And when she finally decided on a name, she's like, you know what? Something that will stand out. Everyone will remember this name because of how just out there it is. Justine Slaughter. She just slaughters people. And she specialized in prosthetics. So it was like a double irony on that. And along the way while she was studying, one thing that I don't know if I necessarily mentioned it a lot, or if it like, because it's not like it comes up often, but she had a fully metal prosthetic arm. um and that was due to like an accident that she was in while she was in school. And so when people would be like, so have you slaughtered a lot of people, she'd be like, well, I experimented on myself first. That was like her gimmick, her icebreaker thing. um and she wanted to do something more with her life, but she always had. Would the reveal of her fake name change how the other party members thought of her? Ooh, that's one for all of y'all. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, fake names wouldn't even phase Rick.
At this
Yeah,
point,
I think-
no.
Hurt.
I think that I feel like Fen would have been, because like of the
Dependent
stigma around
on-
names.
Dependent on what their family was in. Because you had to know also, Fen went through the same thing, changing their name from Fenris, which was their original name, to Fenrana, something a little bit more effeminate sounding, but still keeping that Fen in it. That is a full legal change that they went through. Granted, it is not their entire name because they still have the Etzith name. And especially with their relationship with their father and their family name, less so looked down on and more so envied the fact that you were able to take that step.
Yeah.
Because then it is still locked into the Etzith.
Yeah. I think that's something they would have bonded over. I think is like their names. I think that's something that they definitely like. Late night talk, like staying up with a cup of coffee and just being like, yeah, this is the story, and then just be like, man, I'm so jealous of you. And it's just like, I'm jealous of you. You have an amazing name. What do you mean? And it's just like, no, like, I have to keep this one. It's just like, man, what I would have given to not have to go through that god awful process. But yeah. Oh, also, like Justine was a celestial warlock. I never actually got to really say that. Like, I knew that she was like I think I said that she was a warlock, but she was a celestial warlock who made a pact with Seluna. Was her patron. Because who is the goddess of life and knowledge. So the plan I had with Justine was to kind of make her a pseudo wizard, so to speak. Like, she had a fairly high intelligence and also, obviously high charisma as well. But those were like kind of her main markers. Like, she was supposed to be the smarty pants, the not wannabe, but the kind of had to be the know-it-all. Was what I envisioned for her. But and also looking at my notes, her father was the vice president of marketing for a company in town. I don't think we ever actually got the what actually it was, because we ended up naming the hospital that she worked at like on the spot, which ended up being St. Gray's Memorial Anatomy Center. Oh, St. Gray's Anatomy Memorial Center or something like that.
It was
Binge.
St. Gray's Memorial Anatomy Lab, I think, or something like that.
Memorial Anatomy Center, yeah.
Memorial Anatomy, okay.
Yeah, because we were making jokes about Gray's Anatomy, and they were like, fuck it, Gray's Anatomy, and we were like, wait a minute.
No, Tony's the one that pitched that.
Oh, was it?
That was Tony Goof.
Look, if you don't think I was an OG Gray's Anatomy watcher, you don't know me, alright?
Well, we need to talk then, because I have been meaning to rewatch Grey's Anatomy and then also get caught up in what the heck's been happening, because it's
I haven't
wild.
watched it in 15 years, but I was OG at the beginning.
Rev, by the way, you're muted if you're trying to talk to us. On Discord, yeah.
No, they're not.
I was.
Well, I said that as soon as you got off of it, so, because I was trying to...
You don't know when I got off.
What?
Anyway.
Only Sky knows that.
About the family issues.
About the family trauma.
Yeah, but that kind of led into, like, what she wanted to do, kind of the epilogue part, but I'll let y'all go first with that.
No, I mean, we made you go last for backstory. It only seems fair you get to go.
Okay, well, my thing kind of depends on other people's backstories first, so...
So, should we start with the big one?
So, I don't think we should do backstory by backstory. I think we start with timescales. So, because this is why. So when I worded things, so I do think the group comes together. This hopefully isn't a spooky thing. But I do think the group comes together and at least tries to confront the anti-magic cult. I think they and the BBEG are still pulling strings behind things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Fen, I know, or Blood, I know, same person. I know you had some tie into that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had some things that would happen like immediately after what was going on in our current state, but...
Oh, perfect. No. If you've got stuff that would happen before this, then we will...
yes, I only wrote 2 sentences. That's because I was curious to see what everyone else had, and then I never read it because I was busy with my with my book. So that's on me.
He was keeping his word count for the day.
Don't like you anymore.
For the record, don't let him hide. He wrote those 2 sentences after everybody else had already written theirs, not before.
Everyone. There are 3 people in this. 3 people in this call that didn't write anything.
That's true.
That is not true.
Not true.
There is a DM set that can prove you wrong.
So we were supposed to share it with the group.
I did actually,
which did not happen.
So as soon as this fight was going to end with Mantis, whoever he was fighting, he would have the people that would be able to interrogate them do so. If he lost that fight before he was able to get anyone, Boston probably would have died, or he would have been kidnapped, and that could have gone poorly. But in the chance that he was able to call Nash in, and the two of them were able to resolve things, or everyone else comes and assists, and they were able to restrain and get information from it, he would say that they immediately need to resolve this by any means necessary. If the group agreed with him, we would take care of that. If they didn't, genuinely, he'd be like, well, then I don't know why I'm here. Because I have done literally nothing but help you guys since I've met you, and what exactly have you done for me?
I mean, Finn wouldn't have resisted. They were at a standstill anyway.
That's true. I'm aware of that, but I can see how if because we are waiting for things to happen in Warren, if this was to take us, say, this was a hit put out from our lovely friend Charlotte, he'd say, well, I'm gonna go kill that woman. And because he'd just say, kill it through the problem, he is no longer beating around the bush, so things like that. He'd be very headstrong about this, because one, being attacked in the morning is not the first thing you want to do, and two, they've went and invaded your home, Fen, and that's a personal problem with him now. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to get your family involved just because they're not criminals, nor do they know how to put up a fight. Don't send bureaucrats to war. It's not gonna go well.
I mean,
some would say that might need to happen eventually.
Yes, that might need to happen. But I don't want Fen feeling bad about their siblings and parents getting caught up in a turf war, whatever this was.
I think the twins would have absolutely wrecked their shit, though.
They're seven.
They're 7. They're 13, actually.
Basically 7.
You know what children are capable of.
Oh, they were 13?
They were teens.
I thought you were going to say they
They
were tweens.
behaved like they were 7.
I feel like that was talked about.
That was indeed talked about. They were 13.
Yeah.
They were in...
I may have missed that.
But
they were
after
judgmental teenagers.
He would have also, like...
Emerald, no.
Emerald, yes.
Anytime, also, something that, like I said, he would want to talk to Justine about anything about Walter Gunn, and try and find more information about him as soon as possible, because we had this downtime. Either going with Justine to the hospital to figure it out, or just letting her look at him with the naked eye and see if she could find any pin numbers or anything like that. Not because he does not want to go into any of those box-like machines of doom. And genuinely, he would continue doing the job that he felt was right. If it would take too long, he would get it done his own way and try to tell them, this is stupid. Why do we have to go do all these, the bureaucratic way, as he'd put it, or, the way of the politics, when we need to do it this way? Even if he probably would have broken a few lungs along the way. Because it's not fun. And he's trying to enjoy life best he can, and having to sit on his hands is not fun. And he would continue doing the job when he would meet Walter. And if he was a part of the cult, Boston would kill him. If that was a possibility, he would just... I guess this isn't me paying it forward, but this is doing what should have been done that night. And would have killed him. He would have... If after the incident with the cult was done, that was the end of the campaign, he would go back to home, and just go back to what he was doing. And if he had lost all of his contacts along the way because they were bought out, he'd start his own organization of cowboys or whatever it was, and continue the job until he lost. He had no real plans for the future, and he's just living paycheck to paycheck because he doesn't really know what else to do with his life. Maybe he would not find love, but maybe he would find connection with Amelia or Fen or Justine. Like, maybe they would share life together, but at that moment, he would just continue the job, and he'd stick with Nash for as long as Nash would put up with his nonsense. And in the chance that he did die, he would do two things. He'd give all of his financial stuff, all of his finances would go to the Life-Hander Church, and all of his personal belongings, including the apartment, the office, all that stuff, he would give to Nash.
Hmm.
So, here's the question I have for you, because you've done this in such a way that is, that is I think respectful of our characters' agencies, and I appreciate that. However, we're in an epilogue where we get to write the optimal ending that we want. So which option do you want to happen? What it could be the traumatic, really shitty option where we abandon you. If that's what you like, that's what you like.
I don't think. I think eventually, the group would abandon Boston because his refusal to change. Because the group would continue to progress and grow. Fen would get higher up in their organization. Nash would catch up with Jade again or start a new life and do new gyms, things like that. And Boston would stay in the same position. Baldric would finally either kick the bucket or be the same. And
He would be the bucket.
He gets turned into a bucket.
Oop.
And he does. I'm not saying I don't think Boston deserves a happy ending. I don't think he wants one. That's the truth.
How the turntables.
Hmm?
Have.
I'm sorry?
How the turntables.
Ah.
When we started
But yes.
on the sack
Yes, and
there.
that would mean that Nash would get Mittens, his cat.
So, and I don't want to like take away any agency with
He
any
would
of that.
assist the
I
group
said
as
that
long as it
word, and now
continued-
everyone's saying it.
Uh-huh.
He would continue working with the group until he felt like either A, he was no longer necessary, or B, he no longer felt like if he was no longer enjoying himself. He does the work he does because he enjoys the thrill of it. If it is no longer something he's enjoying, he will leave.
Okay.
Like, that's the long and short of it. He is here for the ride.
Okay.
That makes me think of like Forrest Gump when he's doing his long run, and he's just like all of a sudden he just stops and he's like, I'm tired.
tired.
And then everyone's like, huh? What do you mean? And then he just goes home.
So what's interesting to me is the way you've described Boston is a way that most people would not describe their characters. And I did want to dig into that just a little bit.
For it.
Do the therapy
Because-
session.
No. But basically the way you've said this is that Boston is an immovable object. Boston will be Boston no matter who, what, when, where, why. It's always going to be him killing people and being a drug addict and dealing with that no matter what. And I don't know if that's what you meant to say, but that's what at least I've received. So I wanted to give you a chance to I can see your face. You might want to amend that if that's not what you meant out of it.
Mm-hmm. He's not. First off, he's no longer a drug addict. He has passed that part in his life and has moved past that. He would like to wish that he can change for the better, but given what has happened in the recent past before this group was formed, it's proven that he can't. If he was given a chance, he would want that. But as I have seen Boston and how his story ends at this moment, he does not believe that he can be changed or that he has changed.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'm writing the character as I see him in this moment, he does not feel like he has changed enough for him to deserve that ending. Do I think he does? Absolutely, for the record. But as he sits as a character, he would not look for it. It would have to be something that changes around him or be validation of others. Because, again, he's on a borrowed time in a dream.
He's
And
psychic.
like the conversation him and Nash had, it ended on a cliffhanger because there was nothing to say because Nash didn't know how to respond to what he was saying, and Boston felt he had made his point already. And there was a lot of disconnect there because of their different stages in their life and where they're at.
As well as being 4 years apart. But yeah.
Yeah. But you know what I mean.
Sort of, yeah. Um, they're different outlooks on life, I think, more than different stages of life, right?
Sure.
Nash has always been a little bit more, not go with the flow, but like adapt, overcome, right?
Mhm.
And Boston is a little bit more, I'm going to bash my head into this wall until there's no longer a wall.
Yeah.
So interesting. Okay, so let me make sure that I understand. So your thought is that we would find this this person, this Walter Gunn. Um, they would die. Are they the
It
person who modified?
He is the person that modified them. And if Walter Gunn was in the cult, he would kill him. He would die.
You have full control over this. Is
Yes.
Walter Gunn in the cult?
I would say yes. He is someone that is very skilled with cybernetics, as someone who's able to do it in a street, able to modify someone immensely to the point where they basically can continue living. Yes, they're against the whole cybernetic thing, but with their skills, they could jerry-rig people so they can no longer need cybernetics, or they can damage them such a way that they can just click a button and the person just falls apart, dying. Kind of they're really good at this trade that the group hates, but he's necessary because he's so good at that trade.
Mm.
Monster working amongst
Yeah.
people, basically.
Yeah.
So you would say that you are Frankenstein's monster?
I guess so. That's sure.
Okay. So with that, so I have an idea at least of. I think we now have an idea of like what that looks like as an ending for Boston. Part of that is before what Fen was talking about, and part of that is after. Fen, do you want to talk about what our sort of next thing would have been as a group? Assuming that everybody sticks around, right?
Yeah. So back to the quarry. They are once again ethereal magical beings. However, this one canonically, what I had worked out in the past was they were caught. And in this world, there was this overarching, like, firewall system, basically. And with the way technology and magic had intermingled, it acted as a barrier, keeping this thing quite literally stuck in the internet. Unable to get back to the dream plane, to the ethereal plane, to anywhere else. It was stuck. And the only thing it could do was mentally reach out. That's where it found Fen. As one of the last Kalshtar that we knew of. There could have been more. Who knows? But Fen was the one they latched onto. With clearly sending the dreams to be like, hey, I'm stuck. Get me the fuck out of here. And we had kind of worked on this thing. For those who don't know, Quarry are typically evil spirits. They're typically the bad guy. And they are known to take puppets, inhabit uninhabited souls, bodies. That's not Fen currently. But as Tony put it, it could be. So I think as we were going through this, having Fen go through these dreams, because these dreams did wear on them. Slowly but surely, Fen would be getting sick, weaker, more out of it. And this is kind of a point where, if Rev wants to help me with this part.
Yeah.
Fen was
yeah.
Fen was the original anchor, but they still have their soul.
That's the whole thing.
Pesky little thing. But you know, I have a friend here who's connected to me via a contract.
Yeah, so essentially, I think what we had talked about was, as this thing like tried to get more and more control, you eventually were like worn down. It was like, well, here's a body that, at least as far as he's aware, has no soul. Take it.
Not so much Fence would allow that, as at a certain point it would get to the point of knowing everything that is connected to Fen and hopping across that.
Yeah. Yeah, so like it's a subconscious thing, not as a Fen fucking like betrayed him or anything. But yeah, so essentially because of that, Rick, the entity that is Rick, is dead. Which, like, I don't know how necessarily that would play out in terms of like anybody else finding Rick later on down the line. But yeah, so he's like right there along for the ride, helping in any way that he can until it's too late.
Essentially, we become the BBEG. It's fine. And there was also playing with the idea that Leslie, which I don't think we told you about this part, Rev? the Leslie, with them being the one that got into Aurora and got through the firewalls and stuff like that, they could also have been like another person being contacted by this quarry.
So something that I'm putting together as a really fun thing, I'm sure that's not going to cause any trauma at all.
Oh no.
Is that if Boston is aware of all of this and therefore Baldrick's death, as Brett was talking about earlier, Boston had the opportunity to employ Rick and it not be a Rick and Fen thing. Which means that Boston is directly responsible for Rick's death.
That would make him leave. 100% that would have made him leave.
Ooh.
Or if they figure out it's Fen's fault, he definitely hold resentment towards Fen.
Mm-hmm. Fair. 100% valid. But yeah, and very much we played with this with the idea that the cult hates technology, and the quarry currently hates the way that technology is holding it in.
Mm.
So, taking at two different stances of it, the quarry through Leslie is trying to just abolish or destroy all technology and such, whereas through Fen, or at least currently the way Fen understands it, was just saying, get me the fuck out of here. So break down the firewalls, which could have disastrous repercussions on the technology and the magic within whatever city-state section of the internet it was in.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
What then the experiment on Boston's thing, if Justine was ever to look at it, it could also be perhaps that Walter Gunn was involved with trying to make Boston a potential host or a co-host for the creature because it's a part of the cult, and if you can give someone new organs like that, why can't you store something, an artificial intelligence or whatever this creature is, inside of a person and use that person as a host? Because Boston, he's a strong character. Like right now, I think he has the same strength as Nash and Ramita. So he's a physically strong character.
I mean, Rick's pretty strong.
9.
8.
No, I was saying no.
Oh, I thought you were trying to guess his strength.
You'll never know.
You were close.
But that could also be part of the reason. So it turns out that not only is Baldric dead because of Boston, but also he failed as a spot to save Baldric's life, and basically take Baldric's place.
Mm-hmm.
So that would build into the the guilt of that.
Guilt.
We love a good gold tripping.
Cool trip. Love it. But yeah, so that is a potential for where this all ends is us trying to either, after realizing this Corey is not a friend that Fen had believed this entire time, asking for help, trying and figuring out, seeing a way if we could separate them from Baldric, or potentially ending it. We're some depressing motherfuckers.
I
love that there is like two totally different sides of how I thought that these epilogues were gonna go.
I'm gonna be honest. I write a lot of my D&D characters to die.
I mean, same.
Well, that was I think the next question, and I think you may have slightly answered it for us already, but I want to hear it from you. Given that there's sort of two options of how that could happen, does Baldric full die in that process?
Oh, absolutely. I have always held in any of these sorts of things that Rick has no soul. There is nothing behind the machinery. So, like in the circumstance that like Rick had actually fully died and you guys revived him, it would have
Situation like he would just be a robot that just goes back
Yeah.
to doing what he was doing.
Like Wally when he gets his batteries redone.
I feel like that's how that would have played out. And so, playing as Rick would have teased me like, "Oh, Rick doesn't want this." He wouldn't have known. It would have been essentially a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in that same way, anything replacing Rick inside his headspace is just Rick's death.
So Rick would have been dead the moment.
The
they were
moment it took
possessed.
over. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Interesting. I know, sort of with what we talked with this, I know through their grief, Nash and Ramita would have taken on whatever sort of, I guess, the Fen, Baldric, BBEG, weird, I guess, Corey, Baldric, BBEG.
Mm-hmm.
I assume Fen would have joined them if Fen was able to.
If Fen was
You
able,
said
Do you think Fen would have been killed in the process?
So I don't know what that means, so I'm leaving that open to
I think
you.
obviously the getting Fen down to the point where they were able to use them even as a bridge. I don't know if there's coming back from that. Not without feeling such immense guilt at the fact that they just help something completely ruin their friend, especially with the thing of at the end of this, Baldric is most definitely dead, and Fen having a little bit more of the tech knowledge, probably, I would say, definitely knows that something else hopping into the headspace, the data frame of an automaton, is going to void out everything that automaton was. So I think they would probably know at that point, Rick's gone.
I feel like they also, like, if that was the case and with the incredible guilt, I feel like there would also be a level of denial there too. Be like, and it's just like, no, he's still in there. He's just sleeping. Like, and it's just like, no, look, that's my friend's body. So obviously, like he's still in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can fix this. It's fine. And then, the Corey's defeated, and you're muted, honey.
So I'm like hacking up my lungs and dying over here, so I keep muting out of politeness.
Buddy.
How dare you be polite
But
with
I was
us?
I was building on that and saying I can even see the quarry like taking advantage of that sort of emotion feeling, and being like, well, now that I've got this body, it's temporary, and once we find me a permanent one, you can have your friend back. He's in here. I hear him.
Boston would shoot that thing square in the head.
Yeah, but Boston would have no choice but to believe him.
It truly depends on how it played out, but
I mean, yeah, if Boston could intuit that he was lying,
Right.
absolutely. Blow him the fuck away.
yeah. But like if it happened like in the same room like as like it happened and Fence freaking out about it and like Boston would like see that Baldrick's eye lenses change his color, whatever, like he's now flowing with a green mystical energy or whatever's going on, he would point the gun at him. He said this is temporary. He'd say fine. This would probably be after the whole water gun thing. He'd say go in here then and show him like the cavity that was meant for him to see if it would work. And then that would be a whole escapade. I hope this would happen, but that would be what would happen probably. Unless Fen would be able to convince him, no, that's a lie, don't listen to him. And then that would probably start off that fight.
Yeah.
I know Justine would,
Yes.
because Justine sticks around. We do. I think a shorter version is we track the drug back to the cult, right?
Yeah.
So we do find out, have some resolution on the drug. I assume. Once again, I'm making broad assumptions here to get us to some together points. So if
Yeah.
y'all have other plans, we can adapt. But would Justine be there for the final fight? How would they approach all of this? / would they just be like, nah, my circus, not my monkeys, bye?
Bye.
I think depending on the quickness of the tempo of this happening, I guess because we're level 8 right now where we ended. What level do you think we would have gotten to where this would have been?
I think
Where
we
it
got
happens.
told 10 or 12. I think was the end
Oh,
game.
okay.
Granted, that was almost 2 years ago when we started this, so that could change.
Mhm.
Could have easily changed. But
Okay.
that's what I
'Cause
think I remember.
I think especially because of her pact with Saluna, being life and knowledge, she would be destined to stay with you guys. Like part of what I envision for like her retirement, so to speak, is like while on their travels, while trying to find the solution for this drug, she finds her brother in the thick of it. And he's either like helping create this drug or he is actively working on finding ways to dismantle it. Um,
Your question,
which
your
I think would be
your
really
option. Do
cool
you want the
either
trauma,
way.
or do you want?
I want him to be part of the solution. I am going to petition that he is part of
Okay.
the solution and he helps us finish whatever this is going on. Like he's just like they are a disgrace to science. The fact that they would do this and risk human lives for nothing important or productive in society, it's abhorrent and I despise it. And she would be like, "That's the brother I remember."
Gross.
Because her greatest fear was that her brother didn't remember her. He wouldn't recognize her the way that she is, like she's got tattoos, she's changed her hair, like she looks different and she's grown up, it's been like 30-40 years since she's seen him. And um to try and find him would be so daunting because what does he look like now? Like would I recognize him in the crowd? She would be terrified to miss him, and there he is just suddenly in like we find him in some fucking corner of an alley where we're chasing a lead and he's like, "Ilena?" And she just turns around and she's like, there are few people who know me by that name in Auroran. I can't imagine there's only one person outside of Auroran that knows me by that name. And she'd
Yeah.
turn around and she'd find her brother. And there would be a whole little reunion and then be like, how are you on this? And I'm like, well, these weirdos kind of roped me into it. Um, and I figured
Sorry, we
you would
kidnapped your sister.
I
Not really.
immediately heard the
The-
Meeseeks.
That's
Yes.
what mine took it.
He roped me
He
into
roped
this, and
me
he
into it.
um.
um,
But yeah,
yeah, and so like they would kind of catch up as they be like, okay, well, let's solve this and then we can get to it. And as it continued, so he would help defeat the cult, um, and he would help kind of resolve, maybe not become a part of the group, but definitely would be like, okay, I'm gonna like you're on my radar now. Like I know you, I see you, I know you. We will come back to each other. Like this is not the last time we're gonna see each other, and it wasn't. They ended up like he's a contact of hers. Like they constantly rely on each other for like underground knowledge because he essentially works as like a cowboy, but like more for espionage purposes, not for bounty hunting, so to speak.
Bond boy.
Yeah. And so that's how I imagined that would go. And if she, having been like these people are the reason why she was able to find her brother again, why she was able to get that happy ending with her family that she always wanted and that she will continue to get. And so to find out that someone in their found family has been essentially stolen from them, she would be like, no, we get him back. And especially because of her pact with Saluna, like I said earlier, I kind of trailed off and I'll come back to that. She is a life and knowledge domain goddess. And so the fact that a life, whether like debatable or not because he's an automaton, like that's still someone that everyone in this group valued. And so she wants to fight for that. And so she would do everything that she could to try and get him back.
The way you said that, babe, it reminds me of that Star-Lord reference. Not Star-Lord, Starkiller. What Darth Vader tells him, whatever you felt, it was not real. And then he responds with, they were real to me. That's the sort of vibe it is. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that clip.
I do not, but I can absolutely yeah, that's pretty spot on. And I especially know that like with Granny too, like as Darkness is kind of put in there, like she
Darkness is raging.
yeah. Darkness is like, what do you mean you want to kill yourself? The fuck? Tony's like, where did she put that in chat? But we can feel it. We feel it in her shaky old bones.
That's her. I almost said Tetris. That's not right. So
In her tendons.
Shaky Bones is her performance name.
Yes.
that was the name of her rock
Oh wait,
band.
no. I thought it was her. I thought her performance name was
Hemlock.
Nightshade.
This was a
Hemlock.
joke, but yes, this was a joke.
Do not underestimate this Granny's
She eat her spinach. She fights to the finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that she would.
I'll do something till you finish.
Oh God.
Finish him.
That's a thing.
Yup.
But anyway,
Damn, Emerald tattling.
Emerald is tattling.
100%. Emerald, have you heard the term "snitches get stitches"?
Get him,
Don't
Granny!
worry,
Boston got stitches.
Yes, he did. I think just I didn't really nice to say, so I'm not gonna say anything.
Anyway. But yeah, so basically, what I'm getting the vibe is the only one with a happy ending is Bright and Tony, because the rest of us are some depressing little bitches.
No. There's Granny and I worked on our endings, and
Yeah, she said she wanted to die.
No.
Did we rehash
this
that
through.
one?
We talked this through.
Okay.
So in the final fight, when everything push comes to shove, Granny and Nash and Dr. Slaughter, Fen, if they're there, I think Fen is there. are fighting, two things happen. One, I will say this, I've been waiting for Nash to show off an ability he's had the entire campaign, where he can die and come back to life, which is why his fighting name was Lazarus. Side note, that was 4 names deep. We never got to that one.
Is that just an orc thing, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a half orc thing.
Okay.
But
Relentless endurance.
yeah, but it's comboed with him being stubborn as shit, right? And so he probably would have gone down to 0 and popped back just barely. He probably would have been right next to Ramita, who was killed by whatever sort of magic had just knocked him down. It may be a last ditch effort by someone like Fen trying to take out this quarry.
100%. If it gets down to the point where Fen's just like, fine, you're coming with me.
And Nash in their journeys has leveled up enough as a cleric, and I don't want to step on Bright's toes here. So Bright, if you would rather be the person here to do this, I can swap with you pretty easily. But one of us, I originally had Nash.
I mean, in all honesty, I would be stepping on your toes as a, like, coming into this. You already had the cleric levels. Like...
but that's okay. One of us would learn Revivify.
I want him to do it.
And so, okay, Nash will do it then. And so Nash will, in this moment, especially with Boston realizing and basically being lost, whether or not he dies, he's lost. Fen feeling the way that they do, Rick being gone, Nash refuses to lose another family member. And he is going to cast Revivify. The problem with Revivify is that it requires a diamond. And before we get to that, when I did talk with Granny, Ramita will have a moment where they go to whatever heaven or hell exists in this world, whatever afterlife exists, and they're going to get a message they're going to get to speak with their wife one last time. And their wife is basically going to tell them, hey, you haven't lived since I left. You can't come here until you actually live. As Nash is casting Revivify, and the diamond from Ramita's wedding ring is used for the spell to bring her back for one last chance at life. So that is.
I was just respect the sentiment. Ignore me.
I love that.
That is.
There's smoke in this room. That's why I'm tearing up.
That's what we developed. And then Nash and Ramita will work together to build Found Family. And we can hit more on that. I've got a lot more bullet points. But yeah, that's what happens with Ramita.
She tries to die, and you said no. Nash says no.
Her wife says no, and
Nash facilitates
and
the no?
Lathander are the tools of that.
Why are so many of this party dying and leaving?
I will say
that's what people do.
I will say that if it came to this, Boston would try to be there, but I do not know if he would die in the crosshairs. I would say he probably would have, doing something stupid, as he typically does, trying to run head first and bash his head into that wall.
Picking a fight with an evil robot.
Once again, it's fully your choice whether he leaves or whether he dies or what horrific ending you have planned for him. Maybe I should have said traumatic instead of horrific, but
Oh, actually, that's a good question, Emerald. Would Nash try to reincarnate any of his friends with like true resurrection?
so I've accounted for that. So Nash, mechanically, Nash would not have the levels to get to true resurrection. He would have to become more than an epic level adventurer. Secondarily, those that are gone, I think over in our time and what you guys have said, I think this would come out as a party. He would know that there are certain folks that are not coming back. If Boston dies, only the devil himself can resurrect him, right? Like it's Lathander. Like Lathander is casting that resurrection themselves if they're bringing Boston back.
If
right?
Lathander himself casts that spell, Boston's got a god he's hunting.
Son of a bitch!
I was just getting so to that afterlife.
But the and that's part of like. But the other thing is, without Rick's money, I don't know how. I think in this techie world, I don't think diamonds are that common.
We've never looked for them either, though.
I mean, chemically, diamonds are pretty simple, and they have a lot of like physical uses. So I'm sure, like, they're still a thing.
Around.
Just
Yeah.
But it's one of those that I think it's more about respecting the player and character wishes than anything else. Like I said, since we get the chance to pre-plan it out, this is what I've planned with Darkness's blessing. Darkness and I talked about this together. They had an idea, and I pitched these things, these addendums to it, and they went, "Oh, I love that." So now this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
I will say that Boston would probably has a message recorded in case he does die to get his affairs in order. Telling him to don't bring my body to Tobias to see if he can bring it back or anything of that sort.
Actually, on the vein of Rick's death, like if he was trying to, like if he has tried to bring him back after something like that had happened, I had actually already talked about and even toyed with the idea of that body coming back, but as a completely different character and class.
Mm-hmm.
A very Molly Mock of you.
Right. So Nash would have known, especially with Fen beside, in maybe their wrecked state, but between Fen and Dr. Slaughter, I think Nash would have known Rick is full gone, and Boston is finally at what the closest thing to peace Boston could be at if Boston dies there. And so Nash, it would suck, but Nash would give them their peace. That's why he is a peace domain cleric, is because he realized sometimes to get peace, you have to bash some heads, and sometimes you gotta make decisions you don't like. It sucks sometimes, but that's the only way forward. Yeah. So that happened. When we get done with I'm gonna be honest. So Darkness just said Nash will have to drag Granny away screaming.
That is actually a very good point I wanted to bring up. A huge part of the resurrection spell is that the person being brought back has to be willing.
That's why we've narratively done it the way we have. Is she gets talked to by her wife first, and becomes willing to come back. Nobody else would have been willing. And I think Nash knows that.
Dependent on how Fen dies in this case, there could
Does
be...
Fen actually die?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. The moment that if we're saying that Fen's final attack, or Fen's the magic spell that fucking downs Nash and Ramita for that second, absolutely, they're getting as close as possible and fucking blowing everything up.
You're casting Fireball on yourself.
Why would you run it? That's a wild choice, but I'm not gonna take it away from
No,
you.
no,
It's just a wild choice.
So, the logic I'm putting into it is, if I'm not, previously to this, I'm thinking that they probably yelled for everyone to get the fuck back, and everyone has not listened. Fine, we're doing this together. I'm not gonna be the death of more friends, but this has to end. So I'm not gonna be here after they're gone.
That's very selfish of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Also, the poetic
Love the Rick
justice
elsewhere.
of Rick never letting Fen live down the fact that Fen is like the first one to have killed people, and then Rick being the first one that Fen kills.
Unless something else happens between now and then, but yeah.
Damn, bro. Damn.
It's okay. We also toyed around with the idea of Fen being the one that gets possessed and breaking through it for like a split second and looking at Boston and saying, "Shoot me."
We did toy with that idea. I did pitch that, or no, so one of us pitched that. I don't remember. It was Fast and Furious, but it was good ideas all around. It was.
He would do it. He'd
You
feel
heard the
awful
pitch.
afterwards, but he'd do it.
That would 100% be Fen going, "Fucking end me." End this.
But to finish this
Anyway.
off really well, not to finish this off, but to finish off what I was getting at
Yes.
before we bounced over to here. Nash would not drag Granny away. Nash would stand sentinel by Granny until she was so exhausted from grief, and then he would pick her up.
On her shoulders. On his shoulders.
And I think he would put her on his shoulders, much like the first day they met. And he would walk out as the only conscious member of the original party left alive. The only conscious and alive member of the party. Hopefully with Dr. Slaughter somewhere nearby.
Yeah.
Because man's gonna need some therapy.
You can totally try and res Fen. It just kind of depends on what
What is said?
during.
I think it also kind of depends on, like, if they are the ones that get possessed by the Corey, then who's to say which soul wins in the resurrection?
Ooh. So, I mean, I feel like the resurrection spells generally are pretty, like,
Specific.
You're targeting
accurate
the
in
one
that
soul.
way.
You're specific on which soul.
But I think narratively, because of the way that Kalistar's souls are intertwined like that, I think that could be a really cool thing to toy with.
Mm-hmm.
It could be. Like I said, in the moment, Nash didn't bring any diamonds.
No, I know.
The only diamond in the entire group was, unbeknownst to him, in Granny's wedding ring.
Truly, we all were the diamonds in the rough, though.
The diamonds were the friends you made along the way.
We're gonna get robbed.
In that case, I have 0 diamonds. Because all my friends are dead.
All my friends are
You got
diamonds.
You got Ramita.
I will say that
That's true.
in that final fight, Boston would not try to die if he were to survive for that long. So there is a chance he would live, but he would not be happy about it if he does.
I hear ya. You keep adding wiggle room, my friend.
I'm
are deciding here.
I'm sorry, but I
do
think
you
the
want
view-
him to die or live?
No, 100%. Boston's fucking living. I'm calling it now. Bitch is living and he has to suffer for it.
I think my frustration with this is because I'm not someone like.
You don't like putting a solid on it?
Well, no, it's not just that. When I'm writing my book, and this is part of my writing process, I have a sentence for the ending. I don't have anything else planned for that, and I write up and see how things change to that point. So for us to say the end, I don't know what has happened between here and now, so to put a pin on it is not how my brain works.
If you want, I can write the last 30 seconds of Boston's story for you.
As much fun as that would be, I do not think I could get away with writing this into a novel.
No, it's just like I'll finish Boston's epilogue right here. And then he masturbated to death.
Dehydration.
He died so thirsty.
Sorry, side note, I rewatched Community recently, and officially that is how Pierce Hawthorne dies. That exact...
I will say one thing that would have been interesting that I think could have potentially, like, as far as like long term like end game sort of stuff, like I did like partially envision, like just briefly, the fanfic part of my mind was like love triangle between Justine, Boston, and Nash. Like, I don't know why my brain did that, but I needed that to be said.
Because
out loud.
one of them's your husband and the other one is the good boy.
Your wife didn't know your character was Ace.
No, she did, is the thing.
Technically, I did, yeah. It's not that. Well, my character doesn't know that he's Ace, but also being Ace doesn't mean that you can't be like involved with people.
I'm aware, but
I know you're aware, but
just let me shit on your husband for a second.
That's my job.
Pardon?
Whoa!
Insights.
Yeah, I sit on him all the time. Anyway,
Want to go home?
You are home.
No.
Where do you think you are?
Texas.
But you can hold off if it makes it easier, because like I said, we are writing the ending currently, so
Yeah.
like we are right up there. If you want to hold off till the very end of tonight and make your decision there, if that would make that easier, we can do that instead of me asking every 5 minutes if we've remade the decision.
I'm going to say this. I do not know. And if we're going...
Would rolling for it be easier, Emerald says?
Sure. I got the bullet die right here.
Let's go!
all right. So, D1. So on a D4, I guess we'll do D4, right? So
I
we
mean-
do.
Russian roulette. Use a D6.
Are we doing evens odds? Is this a 50-50?
Does he live? Does he die?
Okay, Brett. Out of 1 of 6, which one is your least favorite number? Brett.
Probably one.
Okay, then if you roll a 1, Boston dies. No, I don't want bullets for Valentine's Day.
It's Texas. They're cheap.
Bullets for Bright's Valentine.
Oh,
Bullet for my Valentine.
that is a 3, not a 1, but it looked like a 1 for a second when I turned it, when I looked at
Boston
it.
gets to live!
Great!
We saved you, buddy.
Good job!
No, he rolled the dice. He saved himself. That's the true
With a
moral of
bullet.
the story.
That's a true.
Granny
Boston
is
story.
thrilled. You only lost two individuals, Ramita.
Yay!
Two.
Two.
Yeah. Sorry,
Fen and Baldric are gone.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Unless someone has a
Actually, I will
fucking
say,
extra diamond
Boston-
some goddamn where.
Boston would, if this is at level 12, I don't think he would have... Would he have Resurrection? Hang on. Or Revivify?
No, because paladins only are half.
We get the 5th level spells, but I'm wondering at level 12... He'd be level 11 Paladin at level 12.
I would be high enough.
Checking. But I don't know if he'd purchase a diamond. He might steal a diamond.
Reincarnation's
But
5th level? Is that real?
I do think it would be hilarious if someone did revive Rick not knowing, and then they just had essentially a brand new 70-year-old robot to deal with. It's like, well, this isn't what I wanted, but I guess he's my responsibility now.
Like, oh look, the dementia patient.
I think actually Boston would keep Baldric. Genuinely, if he did bring him back, he 100% would.
And Boston's cat. Mittens, you're being renamed.
Mittens is Muldrick.
Maldrick, if you would.
But even if he didn't, I mean, who knows? But at 11th level spells, yeah, he would know 3rd level spells, and he could learn Revivify. Would he have prepared for it? Probably not.
I mean, I think also Justine has Revivify.
Granny has money. Boston and Nash are solid.
I mean,
Darkness
as
is
we
gonna go on.
established, all of Rick's money was in that glove. So as long as somebody takes Rick's glove, they're set for their grandchildren's lifetime.
Well, I will say, if you were possessed by a creature, I'm sure it spent all the money, or gave the money to the cult or
How
whatever.
long were we possessed?
Probably not very long.
You've seen people lose
DoorDash
fortune very quickly.
Oh yeah, Justine has 4th level spells. I don't think I have Revivify prepared because I wasn't expecting any
Well,
of us
so
to
no,
die.
very-
Emerald's got a good point there. Gentle repose. It buys you time.
That's
But
true.
So- we
DoorDash
can get into the weeds all we want. But we're looking for a narrative solution, not a mechanical solution, and we're also trying to shove a,
I'm also not a fan of endings, especially for things like this.
understood. I just, wanted to, for me, at least, and this is part of why I ask these questions. Endings are a chance to sort of say goodbye to the characters we may not get to play anymore, and also
An opportunity to cathart.
little bit. So I want to make sure we offer you that opportunity
Fucking killing ourselves.
in its truest form. Whether or not you want it and take it is up to you, my friend. But I want to make sure that you get the full offer, So
I appreciate that.
But so if Boston lives, which it sounds like that maybe is now the thing.
Yes. Apparently
Okay.
he lives that confrontation. Maybe not forever afterwards, but
That's
he does
okay.
survive that confrontation. Probably not good. He's not happy about it.
I think Boston is somebody who might burn hot and bright, but not for long. So I think I would assume that Boston meets their eventual end. But I won't say how or where or when.
That's up for the fanfiction writers.
That's for we can leave that one up in the air. That's totally fine. I just was trying to figure out who was sort of stumbling out of the. I don't know why I'm imagining this in a volcano for some reason. I'm imagining this fight inside a volcano. I don't know.
Quite the epic turnaround for
I,
sure.
I just looked at my old TikTok about the one where Boston died. The one that you the one that you duetted.
yeah.
Oh goodness, that came out. Wait, when did I post that?
A while ago.
A while.
October 4th, 2022.
Oof. Year and a half.
But we are running close to time.
Yes. So I'll give a bunch of my details if that's okay with folks.
Yeah.
Do it.
So let me pull up this because like I said I had a big ass whole thing that I kept editing as we went. So one of the things that I didn't mention after this, Nash actually goes and finally goes face to face with his ex-love, a drow named Jade, The two do not get back together. Don't get your hopes up here. The two do not get back together. But Nash has finally been able to confront that demon of like that scar, um, and slowly works on learning to love himself first and foremost. Um, he reaches out to the person that he broke in the ring, that he maimed, um, whose name is Stonefist, by the way. Stonefist does not forgive him because the fuck would you when someone reaches out after 4 or 5 years randomly and hasn't done anything? Um, but Nash, sends some money and like tries to do his best to make things right, but like you can't undo what you've done,
Mm-hmm.
right? He also works on thawing his relationship with his biological family that went south when he started getting into gambling and got a big head from being a fighter and being somewhat renowned for a little bit. He actually is fidgety for a little while. Um, and so he actually teams up with Atlantis Jones um, and a ragtag crew of ex-cons, um, including Grizzle, Milo, Bing Bong, probably um, actually Ramita's daughter, who they helped get out of prison. Her name was like Sarah or something. I can't quite remember that. I'm not gonna lie. And they actually go and help out Atlantis Jones and help restore some of the life that they lost. Long term, Nash will retire from whatever it was that bounty hunting and do-gooding and this questing shit was. I don't know what title that officially is. And he's gonna work with Ramita. There's probably some of the wealth from Baldric left over. He funds a gym and employs all the ex-cons. Um, Bing Bong, Grizzle, Milo, all them. I'm gonna repeat their names because it's a delight. Milo is under a different name. I don't remember if we decided what their different name was. And he offers special classes for the kids who lost their childhood to the cult. Trixie helps him teach that and helps him not lose touch with those. And this allows them a place to be normal, while also like learning some of the things that they missed in like skipping like 10 years of their youth. Because the world is very different to you when you don't look like a child. And he and Ramita will create a fund for fighters who have to medically retire to replace the missing income until they can get on their feet. I think they're going to name it after Ramita's wife. And then late in the story, I think he and Atlantis Jones actually become serious. I think they end up adopting a couple of kids. Add it to his crew. Nash, the ex-cons, the family he made along the way, and kids he adopted too. So.
The person who started the game exiting prison got the happiest ending.
Yeah.
I mean, went through hell to get it. Literally fought somebody in a volcano.
Apparently.
Tail wagging along the way.
Does he lose the tail during the combat against the volcano battle?
No.
Okay. Just thought I'd
It
ask.
is officially made of nanobots, for the record.
Doesn't mean you can't lose the nanobots, for the record.
But he doesn't.
That's fair. Very fair.
But you didn't.
So that's Nash's story, I think. There may be some tweaks here or there based on what everybody else has or deals with. Everybody who's still alive, that is. Nash, I would say Nash probably lives to a ripe old age for a half orc. Sunday dinners with Granny.
Meanwhile, she's just cursing our existence for fucking leaving.
I mean, I think the other thing that ties into this a little bit, there would be a little bit of interaction between, maybe more than a little. Dr. Slaughter would be invited to Sunday dinner if they wanted to come. There'd be a standing invite.
She would join as often as she can, for sure. I don't think she would go back. She would probably return to Auroran, but I think you guys are only a train away. I think wherever you end up being
In the
at.
very beginning, we took a hover car. So, we got some money so you could get a hover car.
It was a
Good.
rental.
Yeah, it was at the time, but now we got cash. I can buy as many
gets the-
chicken nuggets
I
as
think
I want.
I think the real important question is who gets the Rickmobile.
Brookmobile died. It didn't make it.
I mean, legally it would belong to Fen
But Fenn's
if
dead.
Fen made it out, and then it would be
Everything Fen
Fen's
would-
next of kin. So
Which-
Fen's
Twin.
siblings.
Oh, that's so good. The
The
twins.
twins have the fucking
riding-
Rickmobile. Oh
I
no!
also imagine that because, like, we had talked about it several times, that the armor would be upgraded over time. So the twins would inherit like a legitimate Batmobile.
Yeah.
They should not have that.
Amazing.
There's gonna be like a CD with a little note that says, "Listen to me," and it's gonna be the full instructions on the full like weapon loadout for the car. It's like, this responsibility is now yours. Go and seek justice.
Justice for Rick.
Fuck off,
One thing I did miss out. Well, never mind. I'm gonna adjust part of. Oh yeah, and Nash does in fact buy that bodega. The
There it
exact
is.
bodega, street team bodega. I did forget about that. And sometimes when he's feeling like he needs something different, he just goes and mans the bodega for a little while. But one thing for Darkness's story for Ramita, one thing that we originally had, not knowing that Fen was going to die in that final encounter, we had written that Granny leans on Fen's connections to get their grandson into a college for medical, or the best college for medical. I'm going to switch that over to Dr. Slaughter as our other Auroran semi-influential and also a doctor. I'm going to switch that over so we can still have that plot point. Granny does, at least to the best of her ability, reconnect with her massive family. And she pops up for visits. Weekly Sunday dinners that basically require an acre of land to have all the kids on.
A whole
at
potluck.
least. It's a lot of food.
I always have a freezer lasagna ready for this.
Yes. So, yeah. And when she finally dies, she dies peacefully. Surrounded by probably her long-living family. I don't know how much longer than 300 she has. I don't know the age ranges here, so I don't know what type of timeline that would be.
I think halflings are like 300 to 500.
That's gnomes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
gnomes
pretty sure
200.
halflings are supposed to be like 150 max. So like Ramita was already well pushing it.
Yeah.
I think we just ignore the canon and say Ramita's gonna live forever and bitch doesn't get to die.
I give
Ramita's
her
already
another.
dead.
God incarnate.
I give her another 30 years in case her heart didn't go off during that last fight.
She's been dead this whole time.
She's the big evil bad.
She's the Reverend. She's
The
just
Revenant.
She's lynched by not bathing for this long, so just her thing keeps her alive.
But we smell her every day, even though she's not with us.
Telling people I did it.
I can still hear his voice.
Hey
We're
guys,
just
I
a
think
bunch of memers.
this is the last time we get to break character, huh?
Is there anything else we need to cover? That's the question. Before we do our final.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For like our characters, Brett. We're not saying goodbye yet.
I'm saying thank you to these people I've been spending these past 2 years with. I'm being sentimental. Let me.
You can be
Knock
saying
that
all
shit
the
off.
fuck you want to be. You ain't getting away from us, you bitch.
Right?
We've got more to do.
We do.
We also have your wife's contact information. She can bully you into doing whatever we need you to.
That's awful. That. I was trying to say thank you and thank you to Gears, for putting this group together and for the team in A&I for getting us to do this show together.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any of these people beforehand. All I knew was I knew Druid. I didn't know these people, and I had a stroke. Once again, I'm okay.
Buddy.
You Drew Barrymore, apparently. But not anybody else.
I knew darkness.
Yes, I did know my wife. Apologies. Thank you,
I knew
smartass.
Ironically, the original 3 cast members each ended up bringing an additional cast member.
Yeah.
Each. So yeah, it's funny how that happens. And now we're all friends.
Yeah.
And it's been cool going on this journey.
Well, I mean, I tolerate you guys.
You're okay.
To be expected. That's where most of my friends are. I don't actually have anybody who likes me in this world.
I don't talk to him for 1 week, and he's like, nobody loves me.
Prove me wrong.
What are you doing tomorrow?
I know.
What are you-
I'm not in the voice chat. And it's like, you still alive, homie?
I'm off work tomorrow. I'm gonna be here all day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
dying.
work in meetings and shit.
Ew.
Same.
Yeah. It's fine.
I gotta
What's
go
it
be
like to
80
have a
tomorrow.
real job?
I only got to be at the gym in 5.5 hours. It's fine. It's fine.
Honey.
Yeah, we should
We
absolutely.
should totally call this.
I want to reiterate that we
What?
have we do have plans to replace this. Please don't yeah.
Wednesdays
we can talk
will
about
come
the
back.
plans now.
Yes.
No. We can talk about the
Yes.
plans because it's supposed to be next week, right?
Yes.
So yeah, the first one, the sort of more temporary one, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, we have yet to come up with a name for the show that's going to replace it, but I do have actually a name to pitch. I put it in general like 2 hours
saw.
ago,
I can't check anything.
and I love it.
do like
So I'm going to
that.
pitch it
Also-
here.
Pop out the call.
Blood is bad at this. I have told them this many times. I no,
So-
you're great at running tech.
Nope.
But
Nope.
if you
I'm
don't
bad at
pop out
this.
the
I'm
menu-
bad at this. I'm
We're
the
live.
worst. I'll just go fucking eat.
I'm gonna DM somebody that will make you
Oh.
feel better, and you're gonna be mad at me for doing so.
No, don't bring him into this.
You have Astarian's Discord information?
What would you like to know, Weather Boy? What would you like to-
But we are the show that the name that I would like to pitch is the Wednesday Night Revival.
That's pretty solid.
We are Roll for Respawn. This campaign has ended, but a new story is being reborn from its ashes, and the way the shows are going to work, or the Wednesday night show is going to work for the foreseeable future until we can figure our shit out, is that we are going to basically do 3 to 4 shots. So Brett's going to start us off with a Monster of the Week game. We're gonna play some characters in that, and then I think we haven't officially said this, but I believe Rev is after that.
Yeah, I was gonna say whatever order you say right here is what we're doing.
It's
I'll go
probably either
third.
Rev or myself. Okay, cool, perfect. Because yeah, that's, and I can go maybe after that.
And then
But
I'll
I
go
can go
after
pretty
you.
much whenever. Yeah. That's the plan. It could change based on life.
What games is everybody prepping?
Monster of the week.
You think I
You're
could make
next,
a
Rev. You pick-
choice? I couldn't make a
Rev,
choice for my own fucking show.
Rev, you are going next. You have to go next. Yeah.
Yeah, so Vampire the Masquerade.
I'm stuck between a couple of different options. One is Daggerheart, and the other is 5e.
That'd be like -5e. So, but also we can do two separate things in 5e. It's expansive
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Emerald, I will let you know now. I'm not running Mothership. I am the worst person for a horror game.
He is a bit of a big
What?
old sissy. He's a big old...
I would not do it the way it needs to be done to be effective, and I don't enjoy horror. So I wouldn't enjoy it personally. So I'm not going to be doing that. Did I buy Pasión de las Pasiones the other day? Yes. So we could actually do a telenovela for mine.
Thank
You
you.
fucking sap.
I also bought Old Gods of Appalachia, so we could actually do that. One is kind of horror, so we could do that. It's ooky spooky. It's not really horror, at least as far as I'm reading. But I don't know.
I think I know what Emerald wants.
Oh, I know exactly what Emerald wants, and don't
No.
worry, Emerald. You will get the romance you crave at some point, whether it's on this show or the Wonderarium.
I was about to say we have so
If
many.
I'm not the GM in the next game we play, I will romance either Tony or Brett.
Hell yeah.
Not even
I mean,
the
what?
characters, just them.
Just that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does that
You'll
mean
have
I
to
get
fight my
bribed?
wife, but
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow, you're just gonna speak for her? You're not gonna let her make that decision herself?
I love
She already did,
that.
and she went against my decision. So I'm gonna go to bed alone. Apparently, Mal can sleep on the couch. Y'all have a great night.
He thinks I won't. Damn.
He's disappearing while we're live. Oh no!
But yeah,
You
so
think
that is
I'm,
the
like-
plans for the future. We are gonna, like Tony said, do a rotating DM thing until we can figure out where we're going, what we're doing for our Wednesday night longer campaign. Because I think the ultimate goal is we will have one longer campaign going.
I will also
Which
say,
I think what we kind of talked about is we're gonna go off the vibe of both how we enjoy the game being played and also how you, the viewers, enjoy what's being played.
yeah. So like we said that we all might run a show, but if we really like the Masquerade, we might just stick with that one, or if we really like Monster League, like so. And if we don't like any ones we trade, we'll probably do a loop around once again. But we're not that difficult to make a decision. That was a lie.
Cats have 9 lives, so
Right,
why
you
can't we, right?
I was gonna say, Brett, you said that as you changed your final ending multiple times.
I said that was a lie. I corrected myself.
Oh, I didn't hear that. My bad.
Decision making.
Uh,
But yeah, I think it is time that we call it for tonight.
yeah. think
Go
time.
and who wants to start off the exits?
I'll start off. I'm Bright. I played just Dr. Justine Slaughter. And I am. I think she would be satisfied with the ending that she gets. From what we've said. But otherwise, you can only find me here on Roll for Respawn. Very occasionally, you can find me on Brett's channel, but that may not be often. You can also find me here at on Thursday, which we'll play tomorrow, while we play Baldur's Gate 3, and I try to romance Astarion. And then I will popcorn it over to Blood.
I am Bloodless King. You can find me here on Roll for Respawn. I have been playing Fenrana Etzith. And I'm kind of both sad and satisfied with the way Fenn's story ended.
Good way to be, though.
Yeah. I'm weird about my characters. I don't want them to die, but if they do, I need it to be epic. I think this fits. And you can find me over on my own Twitch, Bloodless King, every once in a while, whenever I remember that I have it.
I'm sure we're gonna start Minecrafting more frequently.
Yes. That. After that, I'll pop it over. We're gonna go just diagonal. Rev.
Hello, I have been Sanguine Rev. You can find me in all the places that you can find me. I stream, Brett streams, we all stream.
Before I stream.
If we make money,
There it
we
is.
can stream for ice cream.
Ooh.
Yeah, get us to
which
50,
way?
y'all.
We are super close to hitting some goals. That means that we can start doing stuff like that. So I guess I'm gonna bounce in on that real quick. Hey, if we hit the magic number 50, that's when we're gonna start opening up the Patreon that we've been joking about for 2 years. We're actually gonna do it. We're gonna do some merch. There's gonna be some really cool stuff coming. We're building a lot out here.
Wait. The Patreon we've been joking about for 2 years is not going to get opened because that has things you will never see on it. However, we would be opening a Patreon. I have to clarify because I know how chat is.
Fair, yeah. A Patreon like what we've been referring to.
Nope. Just a Patreon. We'll be opening a Patreon.
It would probably have some behind-the-scenes content, extra games that we may play.
Perhaps games that we record and don't ever want to air because they went really poorly. Say if we did like a Valentine's Day one shot.
No.
We
But we
none of us
didn't
like
do
romance.
that, so no, that won't ever be aired.
Maybe it's like
because it doesn't
personalized
exist.
Minecraft content. We don't know. It's just a bunch of random stuff that we're kind of throwing out the wall.
We'll do like cameos and shit.
We
And
might
then
do
I'm
clips
going
from
to
said,
throw it
non-existent
to.
video.
I'm going to throw it to Tony.
I love I can't remember who's next or who's gone. That's delightful. Hey, I'm Tony. You can find me on TikTok at TonyWillEdit. I have been playing Nashville Finnegan Thompson, also known as Marcus Murphy, also known as Lazarus Murphy in the ring. That's the final time I get to say. Well, not
Wait,
the
I
final time.
forgot that too.
But do you wanna pop in here?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot. I've been playing Baldric, Mad Hat, Rick Astor, the man with too many names also, but the cleverly renamed so nobody will ever recognize Rick Mad Hat.
There you go. So yeah. Yeah, Lazarus Murphy. I had like a full 6 family members that you guys never got to meet, by the way, and you'll never know who they are. That's Patreon content right there.
There it is.
You can find me on TikTok, Tony Will Edit. You can find me here on the Wonderarium every other Saturday. Our next game is going to be the brutalistic dungeon crawl Morkborg, which is pretty far from the Muppets Swedish Chef. Which is
And to our Swedish viewers, the Norwegian chef, not the.
You're
not the
correct.
Swedish chef.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. I've got an amazing crew that will run that with me. I'm very, very excited. And we'll be back here next week with Monster of the Week and a really, really cool shit. Darkness is only here on Roll for Respawn. They're an exclusive. This show and Thirsty Gay Thursdays. The Wonderarium is at like midnight or like 1 a.m. their time, 2 a.m. their time. I don't know. That's when it starts. So usually they're
not.
not going to be on it unless we pre-record, even though I'd love to have them. And they also revealed their original name, Stinky Old Lady.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's the one.
they wanted us to all know that. And yeah, so that's where you can find Darkness. Should we say the sign off
It's
together,
Brett.
or
It's
are you guys
Brett turn.
okay?
Brett turn.
Brett's
It's
gotta go
does
too.
Brett not gone?
Brett-
I thought
It's Brett's turn.
I got lost, and I made fun of Rev for doing the exact same thing. Brett, it's your turn now. I thought I was last.
It's ironic. Boston was the first character introduced to the group, if I recall. And I now get to say, hi, I'm just Brett, and I played Boston Jones. And also, the group never learned his true name, but it is Andrew Ian Christoph. And I knew in the end, one way or another, he found his light, and he discovered whether or not it was all a dream. You can find me where you can find me, just Brett with 3 T's. I stream every day, Monday through Friday. Come check me out, come say hi. I look forward to our next adventures. They shall be exciting.
Well, then do we say it together? Does one of us say it?
Do we have like a unanimous thing that we always say?
Well, we've had a thing that we've ended episodes with for
I think that
long
one
time
doesn't
now.
quite fit. I think
It doesn't.
If you're going to break character, break free and be yourself.
Mm.
It's so poetic.
Nobody redeemed a dad advice. Get out of here.
I think we've broken
Fine.
character. I think this one is at an end.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it gets fixed in the next show.
I think Darkness has it correct.
Yep.
This time, we break character for good.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.